What's up with office romance in 2025? We'll start this Friday with open phone and text lines. With remote work, where are office romances in 2025? And what's your take on what the rules should be for dating your coworkers, even your boss?
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then it's our media analysis segment, Press Play. Another week, more media outlets retreat in the face of Trump's threats. Plus, we'll check in on public media funding and the media firestorm over a New York Times image amid starvation in Gaza. It's all ahead in the 11 o'clock hour of BPR and GBH and NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. President Trump is pushing back his tariff deadline, giving Mexico 90 more days to negotiate. Trump says the extension comes after what he called a productive phone call with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Andrea Salcedo reports.
President Trump earlier this month had threatened 30% tariffs on goods from Mexico, claiming the country had not done enough to secure their border. In a social media post, Trump said he and Sheinbaum had agreed to extend for 90 days existing tariffs rates, 25% tariffs on cars and 50% tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper. Sheinbaum said Mexico has the best deal possible when compared to other countries facing tariff talks with President Trump. She added that there is no scheduled formal meeting with Trump, but that they'll be back in touch closer to the new 90-day deadline. For NPR News, I'm Andrea Salcedo.
The Labor Department says U.S. employers added 73,000 jobs last month, fewer than expected. The nation's unemployment rate ticked up to 4.2%. The report points to a cooling job market, something economists have warned about amid the uncertainty over President Trump's sweeping tariffs. For the first time in a year, interest will begin accruing for student loan borrowers enrolled in the repayment plan known as SAVE. NPR's Corey Turner reports.
SAVE is the Biden-era repayment plan that was so generous, especially with loan forgiveness, that Republicans sued and the courts have so far blocked it. For a year, the 7.7 million borrowers still enrolled in SAVE have been in a kind of legal limbo, with no interest and no payments required. But starting today, interest will once again begin accruing for these borrowers, and that means to keep loans from ballooning, the Education Department is encouraging borrowers to, quote, quickly transition to a legally compliant repayment plan. Options include an older, similar plan created by Congress known as Income-Based Repayment, or IBR. Corey Turner, NPR News.
Democrats are debating the future of their party and ways to fight low approval ratings. NPR's Stephen Fowler reports.
As the party tries to move on from 2024's defeats, some Democrats are switching up the form and format of their pitch to voters. Some Democratic office holders are doing lengthy appearances on popular podcasts that cater towards people who avoid politics. And while Trump has drastically restructured the government, some Democrats say the party should focus on rebuilding things that do work. Much of the record unpopularity the Democratic Party faces is from within, driven by disenchantment and frustrations among people who may ultimately end up supporting the party in the midterms. Stephen Fowler, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow was down 566 points, the Nasdaq down 437. This is NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren has released a statement in response to the recent jobs report for July. It reads in part, unemployment rose, job openings fell, and more people sat on the sidelines and stopped searching for work. Meanwhile, President Trump's chaotic on-again, off-again tariffs are paralyzing the Fed while undermining the labor market and hurting working families. Warren, of course, is the ranking member of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. New research provides a look into how Massachusetts residents are dealing with hunger, housing instability, and financial strain. It finds that Black and Hispanic people experience those issues 2 to 3 times as often as white people do. The independent state agency, the Center for Health Information and Analysis, conducted the research by analyzing health survey data. The agency says the disparities can lead to poorer health outcomes for Black and Hispanic residents. And don't be surprised if you see thousands of cyclists making their way from Sturbridge to Provincetown this weekend. It's the 45th annual Pan Mass Challenge that raises money for Boston-based Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. It's the single largest supporter of Dana-Farber and is 66% of the Jimmy Fund's annual revenue, having donated over $1 billion since its inception in 1980. Billy Starr, the organizer's chairman, says the first Pan Mass Challenge had 36 riders, 10 volunteers, and raised $10,000. 67 degrees in Boston right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Eric and Wendy Schmidt through the Schmidt Family Foundation, working toward a healthy, resilient, secure world for all. On the web at theschmidt.org. This is NPR.
He's Jim Browdy. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello, Jim. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. It's going to get happier, by the way, at noon when we were joined by a fabulous musician, one of our all-time favorite people, multi-decade heartthrob on television. That would be the great John Davidson, so stick around. We were thinking that for today's opening call-in segment, we could talk about Trump's latest. Maybe it's that ridiculous $200 million ballroom story at the White House.
Oh, I know.
Or his latest tariff moves, or, and we are going to talk about this one later, the Smithsonian, I mean, I can't even say this, the Smithsonian removing any reference to Trump's two impeachments. But since it's officially August, we decided we would take a 30-minute Trump break at least. And we'd spend some time getting your thoughts on the fate of the office romance in 2025. For decades, the primary way that people met prospective romantic partners was through work. Apparently, they still are, because the survey Marjorie and I saw this morning, 50% of people say they've dated a coworker. This one is amazing. 1/3 of people say they've dated their manager.
They just can't help themselves.
Obviously, there's the astronomer's story, the Coldplay gate thing, the mess over at City Hall. So that's some current events kind of things. We want to hear from you at 877-301-8970. If you're interested in asking out someone you work with, how do you make sure it's done in a way that's appropriate, doesn't get you fired or ostracized? And even if you are fully behind the idea of finding love at work, how are you supposed to find your perfect mate at work if nobody goes to work, which is essentially what's happening in many parts of the country? 877-301-8970. Later in the show, in the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to have the love letters person from the Globe, Meredith Goldstein, who can talk to us about whether Coldplay Gate or the situation at Boston City Hall has changed anything here. But for now, it is you. And so what do you think the rules should be, Marjorie? How should this all operate?
Let's just say right from the start, we are not talking about like gross things like Bill Clinton, the President of the United States, going after somebody who's 22 years old, trolling for, the office secretarial pool or something if you're the CEO. We're talking about what most people do, and it was, I think, a lot easier than online dating. You hang around the office, you go to the water cooler, you go to the lunchroom, you go to the coffee machine, you see somebody that you think is attractive.
Go to the boardroom, lock the doors, like they do at Beacon Hill pretty regularly.
Yeah, that kind
from what we read. Yeah.
And I mean, like we say, so many people wind up marrying somebody they met at work, and that's kind of like the way people did it. Actually, some people have prevailed even through the COVID and the Zoom life we all live now, with picking up people on Zoom. They think we're kind of cute and pursuing it. So it's going to happen. You don't want it to be some abusive kind of thing. But
so what do you think the rules should be? You said, from our conversations during Coldplay Gate, when the thing happened at City Hall with those two workers and a key aide to Wu, where the finding was that nothing inappropriate had happened, but it was a higher up and a lower level employee, even though she didn't report to him, from what we understand. You sound to me in our discussions like you think the rules should be looser. Am I right about that?
Well, in the City Hall situation, I
don't mean City Hall. I mean any situation at a workplace.
You want to make sure it's not a coercive and abusive kind of thing, and there isn't some huge power dynamic, and that the person that that there's not your salary can be affected, or that somebody that's in a more powerful position can punish you or take action.
How about if there's
you.
an itty-bitty power dynamic?
I think it's really hard to patrol that kind of thing. And I always wonder,
why?
They say,
Why can't the rules say that you can't date a spirit? The problem...
Because everybody in the office is on the same level, so there's going to be itty-bitty power dynamics all over the office. And, the other thing I always wonder about these things, if you've got to go into HR and tell them, that you're involved with somebody, do you do that when you decide on Zoom that they're cute before you tell them you think that they're cute? Do you do it after the first date? You don't want to be the loser that goes in there telling HR after every first date, and you never get to the second date or the third date.
I don't think it's that hard at all.
Oh, yeah?
The standard, the threshold when you're a reporter is when you're going to a Coldplay concert. That's what... Before the Coldplay thing, you don't have to report anything. Let me tell you what the problem is, because you I think, are more loosey-goosey on the policy around this than I am. Let's assume there's a slight disparity in power, which you think, there's so many disparities, it's got to be a big one. It's not just the employee where there may be an issue. How about his or her fellow employees who are on the same level that know that you're dating, even though it hasn't been disclosed? Disclosure, I think, is a really important thing, even though I don't know how to do that either. Are they not worried, maybe appropriately, there's going to be some favoritism shown to that person?
I think people are worried if the employer went to the same college as the employee, if the employer and the employee play golf together on the weekends, if they're friendly. You can't micromanage everything to this degree.
Yes, you can.
Jim, you know what I mean? People prevail. I think it's a riot that people just prevailed right through COVID. They even though they couldn't see anybody, made it a lot harder. And that people just go right ahead. You can't stop people from having affections for other people that they work with 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day. It's just not going to happen.
So you think it's okay that the survey you and I saw this morning, 1/3 of people are dating a manager of theirs? You apparently do, right?
What are you going to do? You got this really adorable little manager over there.
You got to do what you got to do, right? Okay. 877-301-8970.
I think we've gone too far.
We have?
Yes. Like we do in a lot of things.
What is the evidence that we're going too far? Where has there been damage done because we're going too far?
Well, I think of the City Hall situation. It's like Mayor Wu's career was over because of this situation there with these two employees.
What do you mean it's over? Where was the harm done to her?
It was going to become a big campaign issue, Jim. It did not become a big campaign issue.
877-301-8970.
Listen to the first texter. I dated a coworker. We had been married for 21 years. Okay? There you go. That's the kind of thing that happens. I met my former husband at work. You met your wife at work.
Okay, here's one. Oh, this text is from Kristen Cabot. I dated the boss at work. Was working out great until we went to a concert. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah. Did you read the story where it says some of the big offenders in these office romances are people that work in HR? I love that one.
That's a real shock, isn't it?
They
know what the rules are.
People come into the HR office, maybe they tell them about some problem they're having at home or problem they're having at work, and all of a sudden they segue into the problems they're having with their love life, and one thing leads to another, and before you know it, HR is infatuated.
All I can tell is Marjorie's the happiest she's been in months. So draw your own conclusions. 877-301-8970. There is a serious underpinning. There's a serious issue here, by the way. And as I say, it's not just for the worker involved who may be preyed upon as opposed to having an equal kind of relationship.
Well, being
it's all
preyed
the coworkers.
upon is different.
You ever worked at a place where you knew, even if it wasn't public, let me try this one more time, that somebody was dating one of the bosses quietly, and tell me you weren't worried that he or she wasn't going to get a special deal that you weren't going to get because you weren't doing it?
Jim, I'm getting kind of old here. My entire career was spent watching people dating the boss. That's what everybody did. Come on.
We're not talking here, by the way.
No, we're not talking.
So we
here.
must be talking the Boston Herald,
the newspapers that I worked at. Well, we're going to have Meredith Goldstein come in later. Half the Globe is married to each other, and they all met each other there.
I don't know if half the Globe is married.
Well, a lot of them were. Yeah.
Okay, 877-301-8970.
My daughter met her husband at work.
She did?
Yes, my son met his wife. Well, actually, that's not true.
It's okay. Say it anyway.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to Catherine in the car. You were first on BPR here. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for taking my call.
Yep.
Is there an echo? Should I turn off something?
Oh, turn off everything. How about that?
Definitely the radio, Catherine, if you got it on.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah. Hi. Hello.
Hey, 3 years ago, I was working for the Boston Phoenix.
What's that again?
50 years ago, I was working for the Boston Phoenix.
Oh,
Wow.
Former colleague of ours was
Yeah.
the boss over there for years.
Oh, my goodness.
Peter
Going to tell a
Kadzis.
story.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to tell a story, but it's a good story.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Okay.
My husband, now, for 50 years,
Yeah.
I met there.
Oh.
And I got fired for dating him.
You did?
Who fired you? We probably know him.
The boss
Who fired you?
the guy.
You know exactly who it was, that short man.
Oh, Stephen Mindich.
Oh, Stephen Mindich, who owned the paper. He fired you?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
He's dead, right?
He has passed away.
So we
Yes,
don't
he
have to
has.
worry about it
Yes.
We were
getting
very
sued.
much alive.
What's that?
Yeah, we were very much alive, and it was it's a wonderful relationship.
Wait a
That's all I
second.
wanted to say.
Catherine, this connection's horrible. So just one question. What was the power differential between you and, well, forget that. Why were you fired?
I was fired because of serendipity. You know who I worked for.
Because of who?
I don't get it.
So,
I don't get it.
Very simply, he was the person I started dating was the paper.
Oh, hey, do us a favor. Send us a text so we can get this clarified here at
Stephen Mindich,
877-301-8970.
I wrote an entire magazine piece about Stephen
You
Mindich.
did?
He was a
I didn't
mercurial.
know
He was a
that.
mercurial figure. Perhaps, Catherine, he wanted to date you himself, and maybe he was upset that he wasn't. That you were dating somebody else. I have no idea, but that's unusual to get fired by the boss because you're dating somebody else. It's a big deal in the company, I think. That is what she was saying.
I think so. 877-301-8970 is the number. We're talking about office romance. It's not as frivolous as it may sound because obviously there's a lot of news generated lately. One out at Gillette Stadium, one at City Hall. There's actually a lot of stuff going on. Let's go out to San Francisco where Brad is on the phone. Brad, welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
So I found I was the last to find out in my office situation. The executive director, who was married, was sitting next to our lawyer in the lunchroom, and he had a cup of noodles. So he spun a bunch of noodles, took a bite, stuck the fork in the middle. She was sitting next to him. He was married at the time.
Yeah.
She was sitting next to him, reached over, grabbed the fork, spun some noodles, and took a bite. So after lunch, I went to the deputy director and I said, "Hey, that seems a little odd. Is there something going on?" And he started laughing and said, "You're the last person to know this. They've been dating for 6 months."
That's very interesting because
So what was the end of
I'm looking at somebody who spends all his time putting forks in other people's foods.
That's a very
So
good point.
Jim must be carrying on with 17 different people. I mean, the
Apparently.
entire staff.
Apparently. So, Brad, what happened at the end of the thing there? What happened?
He divorced his wife. They weren't getting along, it turned out. And they were together for a number of years. Then they split up, and she married the person who was the head of the Board of Supervisors for many years out here.
Oh,
Wow.
Good move.
So it was a ramen kind of thing. Hey, Brad,
Yeah.
thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
But that is those telltale signs that you see going on in the office, Jim.
He's a good one. Read Benjamin Brighton. That's pretty good.
My old job had a strict no dating coworkers rule. Then an employee announced they were getting engaged to the CEO, and poof, that rule went out with the bathwater in yesterday's tuna.
Yeah.
Well, you're speaking of the Boston Globe. The Boston Globe used to have a rule that anti-nepotism.
That's why you didn't work
rule.
there
Yes,
early on.
because my former husband worked there before I did. So you could, they weren't going to hire a spouse. And then the boss decided he was going to hire a spouse, and then that was the end of the
Who was the
nepotism
boss
rule.
who hired a spouse?
I forget the guy's name, but he
Oh.
hired a spouse, and then the nepotism rule went out the window, and suddenly all these couples.
But nepotism is a whole different. I mean, it's a whole different kind
Yeah,
of
it's
deal.
it's a whole different kind of thing. But I always thought that was crazy. Why, if a spouse was talented, why not hire the spouse?
So you still haven't answered my question. I know you said it's hard to go to HR. What do you tell them? Isn't disclosure the first step? Because even if it doesn't eliminate the discomfort that it may cause some of your
Yeah.
coworkers, at least there's some.
But it's
whatever.
a weird thing. When do you tell? Do you sneak?
Well, I don't know. I'm
do
not
you
an HR
sneak
person.
around the office until your third date or until you're engaged? And like I said before, would you want to be the person that keeps going in to talk about how they have a date with so and so, and then your romances never work out, and you're like the HR loser who's constantly going in on the first date when you never get to the second or third or
That's a
fourth
good point. If
date?
you're dating everybody at work, that's a real. That's real.
Yeah, you
That
know,
is a
I
real
mean,
issue.
and really, when do you? I think most people. I mean, Meredith did a podcast about this. This
Meredith
couple,
Goldstein, yeah.
they snuck around the office for a long time before they came out of the closet and told anybody that were involved. And they both ended up leaving the company. Here's David from Mansfield. My mother was my father's secretary. They were happily married until death do them part, but they met way back after World War II. That would be a long time ago, before anybody talked about this kind of thing. That was the kind of time when everybody was dating the secretary, whether they were married to somebody else or not, Jim.
Speaking of far worse than dating the secretary, did you see the interview with Harvey Weinstein from prison? Who now says, as if anyone believes this, what would I do if I got out, which hopefully he will not. He wants to spend more time with his 5 children. He really feels he hasn't spent enough time with his children. Oh, my God. Chris on the road. We're talking about office romance. What should policies be? What are they? Have you had an experience, etc.? Chris, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Our pleasure.
Mine, maybe someone else has made this in the interim, is that, I worked for a large engineer.
Hey, Chris, we got to put you on hold. We have another connect. Don't hang up. We'll take another call, move to another room or move around or something, and we'll try to get back to you in a second.
You know, she was talking about, I think she was going to talk about somebody else knowing about the affair in the office. That's always difficult, you know, when the boss is having an affair and everybody knows about it.
What do you mean difficult? How?
When the boss's spouse calls or shows up or something like that, and everybody's where's so-and-so? We can never quite
Have you had all
figure out
these experiences you're talking about with coworkers?
Wild West at the Boston Herald, just the Wild West.
By the way, there's a story Marjorie's not going to tell, and I'm not going to fill in any gaps. She has a great story about what was going on the roof one day.
The roof.
And people were driving down 93 and watching what was going on the roof of the Herald.
The roof of the Herald, you can see it. You can see it. When you're stuck in traffic on 93, you get a clear view of where the Herald used to be. And then the Mass Pike. You know, there's a lot of traffic there. And there were things going on the roof. And we all got a big kick out of the things that were going on the roof. But then they blocked off the staircase to the roof. They put up like a chain link fence.
That's really
and you could go up
unfair.
on the roof, and that was the end of that.
Well, apparently we're going to try Chris one more time to see if she's in a better spot. Hi, Chris. Welcome again.
Hi, how's this? Can you hear me well?
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say, maybe someone else made this comment, I worked for a large engineering firm, and there were a lot of people in their 20s and 30s. A lot of peers were dating. But then the senior vice president started dating someone that was a peer, and he was married. And that made it very uncomfortable. I mean, it made you question his judgment, and we all felt like we were keeping the secret because his wife didn't know. And so that's just another level of dating in the workplace that I think should not happen.
Yeah, it's always harder. I mean, that was like this Coldplay thing. I mean, they were both married, and she was recently married too.
Yeah.
And they were on their second time around, both of them.
Well, soon on their third. Chris, so what should the policy be that would preclude people being put in that kind of uncomfortable situation?
Well, for one thing, he was a senior vice president.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have taken care of that issue. But I don't know. I mean, I'm reluctant to intrude on other people's, romantic things.
Predilections, yes.
Saying that in the workplace, it just caused a lot of discomfort. And I think it was very poor judgment on people's part. It made me question his judgment as a manager.
Well, you can actually hear the discomfort in your voice, by the way, years later. Chris, thank you for the call. I'm surprised we mentioned Clinton before. Clinton sort of survived, I would say, the grossest example of a power imbalance maybe in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
And he's still speaking at conventions. Yep. He's in less demand now, I think, because I think there's a different sort of era.
I think it's fair to say that Monica Lewinsky's had a very difficult path because of this. I mean, the person that took the brunt of that whole thing was Monica Lewinsky.
Well, I actually saw the other day.
Monica Lewinsky?
I watched her doing it. She has a podcast.
Oh, it's supposed to be pretty good.
And she was I can't remember. She was interviewing obviously didn't stay with me, a pretty famous actress. And she was, I thought, a really good and interesting interviewer.
Yeah, and she's written a lot of stuff that's really good, too.
Doug and Whalen
we have somebody
says,
here who says they wish they had more people at work that they could flirt with, but they're either too old or they're gay, and they're all for it, but they're not old and they're not gay, so it's difficult for them.
Doug and Whalen says, I'm a former HR person here. The dating relationships within HR, the stories I have.
Well, Doug, that's
how about sharing a few, Doug?
Yeah, text back and share us a few, because one of these stories talks about that the biggest offenders are the people in HR.
Well, because they know the rules, right? I mean, is that...
Or they know the rules, or they have those personal closed-door conversations with people. You know how that happens. Somebody closes the door and...
You know everything about this. So the Herald was like the Wild West.
Wild West.
Day. Is that what it was? It was?
I think a lot of places were like that. Yeah, I don't think this is unusual. Maybe it was just newspapers. Most of my friends worked for newspapers. Half the people I know would get married to people that worked in newspapers.
Well, you say that was going on. I don't think that many workplaces people were having sex on the roof. I just... I don't know for a fact. It's hard to prove a negative.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that typical.
We had the wife come into the Herald to accost the...
Wait, for the roof dwellers? Wait, the wife of one of the roof participants?
I told you that story.
What do we do with her? What do we do with her?
The wife decked the woman.
No, that is not true.
Yeah, she did. It was a great story. I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for telling that one. It's right in front of me. Wham! Are you so-and-so? Wham! Her glasses went flying right across the hall.
That's very impressive.
It was very impressive. Yeah, it was a wild scene.
Okay.
Wild scene.
Okay, we're going to have to hold on the rest of the calls.
You don't have any good stories about this, Jim?
I'm trying to think where I work. Legal services is not exactly that kind of place.
You don't think so?
The union.
I hear those lawyers are swinging from the chandeliers.
Well, I did work in the Catskills. The Catskills was fairly wild.
Restaurants.
Yeah,
stuff that went on in the restaurants.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
With the line cooks and the wait staff. It was out of control. Okay, we're talking about office romances.
This texter says she has some closed-door office fantasy she's playing out on the air right now. By the way, we're talking about Marjorie, needless to say, who is now nervously laughing, actually.
I'm nervously laughing. I don't know if I should have told that one, but it's too late now. Too late now. Okay, you're listening to BPR and GBH and NAPM live at the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're talking about office romances. Do you still think they're okay, or what are the rules? Should people lose their jobs? Should people rush into HR to confess? And at what point should they confess? And then maybe they'll get involved with the person in HR during that confession. 877-301-8970 is the number.
Since the Trump administration shut down most USAID operations, nearly $10 million worth of contraceptives, including IUDs, have been sitting in a Belgian warehouse. They were going to be distributed to women in low-income countries, but are now slated to be destroyed. Some officials are trying to stop that from happening. Next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And the Animation Block Party, dedicated to exhibiting independent, professional, and student-animated works for over 20 years. Presenting Animation for Kids Festival August 9th at the Simmons Theater at the New England Aquarium. Learn more at animationblock.com. And GM Roth Design Remodeling. Dreams delivered. With custom kitchens, bathrooms, and additions. Serving New England for over 39 years. Learn more at GM Roth.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marge Regan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. In the noon hour, we'll start with John Davidson, singing, talking, that sort of thing. Sue O'Connell joins us. And then for the second time, Olga Cherevko from the branch of the United Nations is going to zoom in live from central Gaza to talk to us about how that horror show is going over there. What are you laughing about?
A couple of good texts.
Oh, we're talking about office romances.
Yeah.
And essentially we're talking about the Herald. We're not even talking about office romances in general. But that's fine, I guess. That's fine.
Well, we used to go every night. Thursday night was payday. We'd all go out drinking at the same place in the South End.
Yeah.
That could have been a
You
problem.
could say the name of that place.
Foley's,
yeah.
great
Foley's
bar.
is great, yeah.
Great bar in the South End. Anyway, we've got a couple of good texts. Woody, the UPS driver, says, I got demoted at Whole Foods, but I was replaced by my future wife. So there you go. Then listen to this one. My ex-husband, boss, to student of his, had an affair with said student. I wanted to scream about this to the higher-ups, but the higher-ups were all doing the same thing. Broke up the marriage, and I'm still ticked off.
You at least agree a student-teacher thing is total. Doesn't matter, college, grad school, that's totally off limits, right?
It's totally off limits now.
Okay.
It didn't used to be.
Okay, should it be?
That was the big joke.
Should it be?
That was the big, yes. But that was the big joke at Smith College where your daughter went, and I went for a while.
Your sister went?
They would have the fire drills 2 o'clock in the morning.
You have so many stories. What would happen, Marjorie?
Well, the Latin American scholar would come running out the door. The European history guy would be going out the other door. I mean, there were professors in the dorm rooms when they shouldn't have been. Jackie in the car, thank you for calling.
Hello, Jackie.
Hi there.
Hi there.
I dated one person at work in my history, and we got spotted on one of our first dates at a Justin Timberlake concert by our HR person from our work.
And then what happened?
And we fast-tracked and ended up disclosing to HR and to everybody, and they tried to transfer one of us. So neither of us work there anymore, but we got married last year. So I think we won in the end.
Okay, Jackie, this is a great story. Now, the thing is, so you confronted this issue. At what point are you supposed to go running down and telling HR you're involved with somebody? I mean, I think you got to be pretty involved before you do that, or do you?
That was the thing we were trying to figure out, because when we were early on dating, neither of us wanted to make a whole big hoopla
Exactly.
and disclose if we weren't official or exclusive or all those sort of things. So we ended up waiting until it was really real, and kind of maybe got in trouble for it because we got spotted out and about early on. But
now,
it worked out okay.
Okay, so I know you got married, which is great, but why did you get transferred? Were you in an uneven position power-wise, or what?
We were. It wasn't a direct supervisor relationship, but my now husband was a little higher up than me, and they had really strict rules about not wanting anyone in the same department dating at all. So they were trying to transfer folks to different sites if there was any involvement. But really what they just ended up doing was making it so no one ever disclosed a relationship again, because they liked where they worked.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. I actually am not opposed to a transfer in that circumstance, but were you the sole target of the transfer, meaning were they contemplating transferring him or just you, the lower level worker?
He volunteered.
Oh.
He didn't want me to be in the position to get transferred.
Good for him.
And put any of my work in jeopardy. So he volunteered to be the one, but neither of us were super happy with the situation.
Jackie, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. So are you against the transfer in that circumstance?
Well, again, I don't know. Is that interfering with people's ability to get their work done? I don't know.
I don't know them. I mean, coworkers.
See, to me, it should be more of a, and maybe this is impossible, but it should be more of a case-by-case kind of basis.
No, but then it leads to arbitrariness. No, you can't have a case. You have to have rules that are equally enforceable and clear to people
but they're not
in
clear.
Advance of any behavior.
That's the problem.
Well, draft them clearly.
Well, our colleague Soraya Wintersmith did a whole story about this, and saying that Boston didn't have any black and white rules on this, and neither do a lot of other cities and towns either. It's kind of loosey-goosey.
So what does that mean?
Well,
so they shouldn't?
I think it means they kind of don't know what to do. Let's look at Cambridge. They said that Jim Bradley tried to put one in effect when he was a city councilor. Cambridge has a soft policy that involves a supervisor-subordinate dynamic spelled out in its employee handbook. So that's pretty clear, I guess. That's about someone who supervises the other. And that's different. If somebody supervises another person, they're in direct supervisory role. I get that because that could become coercive.
Now I don't know how this really fits in the conversation.
By the way, what's your position here that we should?
I told you there should be incredibly strict, clear. No, they got to be clear rules.
So everybody has to leave the company.
No,
get
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You lose your job.
No, they got to be clear rules.
And what are the rules, Jim?
How do I know? Am I in the HR department?
What are you talking about?
Okay, I'll start with this.
Okay.
Stay off the roof. That's one. No roof time for anybody, okay? And take it from there. Now, Anonymous, obviously, texts, I have a crush on my boss. I actually think it makes me more enthusiastic about my husband. I don't think that's the criterion.
Oh, no.
Kind of projected attraction but I'm fine with it.
Oh, my goodness.
How does that fit into this
I don't
conversation?
know. That could be dangerous there, Anonymous.
So
I'm
I
not
guess
sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Suzanne in Weston, what do you think, Suzanne?
Hello, Suzanne. We've got a minute. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I work in HR, and I think it's the responsibility of HR to have it written down in their handbook, specifically what the rules are about dating, and just take out all the guesswork for the employees, okay? It makes it so much easier. And an employee should not be dating a manager specifically for quid pro quo reasons, okay? It's just not acceptable, and it creates a not.
Sound very
go
clear
ahead.
and
Wait,
serious.
she has an
I just want to ask her a question.
Yeah.
You know, apparently the HR people are among the worst offenders. So, do you have anything you'd like to tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that they do that, because you're right. They know how to skirt the system, but at the end of the day, they have a responsibility to maintain a certain culture and professionalism. And it's disappointing if they choose to do that and not think they're going to get caught.
You know, Suzanne, Marjorie and I, right after the show, are going to a movie. It's just out. It's called HR Gone Wild. Have you seen it? Apparently, I wrote it. Suzanne, that was great.
I bet
Thank
you've
you
got
for
a
the
lot
call.
of good tales to tell. Unfortunately, though, we are out of time. But it's time for our Friday media analysis segment, Press Play, with GBH's Callie, Crossley, and Yawu Miller from the Flipside. You know, one person did point out a really good thing. The worst thing about having an office romance is if you break up and then you got to look at the person that you broke up with 2 desks over every morning you're coming to work. But then I think the person that was the nasty person, they just should leave the company and do the right thing. They should be gallant about it, Jim.
You have very strong views on this.
I do. Well, I had a lot of experience, as I've told you.
Excuse me?
Not with me. Watching other people in action. It was
Let's
a lot
move
of.
I think I would move on if I were you. Thank you.
Okay, you're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, is controversy part of the advertising world's DNA? We'll look at how American Eagle's Great Genes campaign is backfiring. And is Elon Musk hitting Grok bottom? He's released AI anime companions, which includes an over-sexualized chatbot. Plus, we recap this week's Boston Mayoral Forum on the Arts. That and more on The Culture Show's Week in Review, today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Newport Mansions, presenting the 20th Annual Newport Mansions Wine and Food Festival, September 19th to the 21st at Rosecliff. Seminars, tastings, and a dinner experience with Chef Marcus Samuelson. Tickets at newportmansions.org. And Rockland Trust Bank, committed to helping individuals and local businesses work towards their financial goals by providing financial advice and resources. More at rocklandtrust.com. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marge Regan live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. It's now time for our weekly media analysis segment, Press Play. We're joined at the BPL desk by Callie Crossley. She's host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley. Of course, airs Sunday nights on GBH. You can also hear her Monday Callie commentaries on GBH's Morning Edition, obviously a co-host of The Culture Show, which is live here today at 2, since it is a Friday. With us also is Yawu Miller. Yawu is a former senior editor at the Bay State Banner. He's now editor-in-chief of a brand new nonprofit news service called The Flipside, flipsidenews.net. Good to see you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Hey, thank you very much.
Can we ask Yawu to say, I think we asked him last time, can you tell us one more time what Flipside is? Can you share with people what you're doing?
We're as you mentioned, an online news website that we cover news of interest to the Black and Latino community in the greater Boston area. Our work is republished in publications including the Bay State Banner, where I used to work. And so that's what I'm up to now.
Great. Glad to hear it.
So a lot of us have been very upset about the capitulations been going on all across the country in terms of law firms and universities and Donald Trump's unlawful demands on lots of them. Margaret Sullivan is a great press critic, had a piece on her Substack account talking about media capitulation and listed. Even the New York Times got one chicken. They went down to chickens. One chickens to 5 chickens, or 4 chickens. Anyway, Fox News got 4 chickens. But about capitulating to the president, like making sure their coverage was not going to upset Donald Trump. Bloomberg News is the only one that remained unscathed in this. What do you make of this?
Well, we're watching it. I mean, I don't know what to make of it because I've never seen this before, and I've never seen it before from some institutions that we in the industry certainly have always held up high. I mean, I'm looking at CBS and 60 Minutes. That show did not choose to be in the position that it is in. Their bosses made the decision for them, but it's really. I mean, I know we hear the word shocking a lot, but it's shocking to me, actually.
Yeah, what do you think, Yawu?
I think that there's a correlation between ownership by oligarchs and the willingness to capitulate, except with Bloomberg, which is an outlier.
Billionaire. He's a billionaire,
right.
Yeah.
Local kid, by the way, from Medford,
that's
we should
right.
say. But go ahead. Yeah.
Former mayor of New York.
Yep.
That Jeff Bezos clearly perceives that he has a lot to gain from a Trump presidency, or a lot at stake that Trump could jeopardize, and his business interests supersede the journalistic standards of what was a leading news organization in the United States. It's sad.
I'm going to say the same thing I say every week about this. By the way, the name of the study that Margaret Sullivan is referencing is called Saving America's Fourth Estate from Billionaires, Broligarchy, and Trump, if you want to check it out. Yawu, starting with you, if I'm not in the media, but a consumer of media who's not a cynic at heart, but is a concerned consumer, I would say, how do I know who's playing by typical journalistic rules and who is tamping down what they're saying about a Donald Trump or something else, even if it's not a directive from the boss, but just for self-preservation, so they don't get in trouble? What do you say to that reader?
How do you know? I mean, I think that it's. You just have. I mean, it's what's happened with the Washington Post. What's happened with a lot of these other publications. I mean, people are writing about it. Journalists are upset. People are concerned for the future of the profession, and I think that the more you read, the more you know. But I think the majority of American news consumers don't really understand what's going on.
Well, can I cite an example, Callie, that I cite almost every week, but it's the only one that I'm fully aware of a journalist I respect. When Ruth Marcus decided to quit the Washington Post, she wrote a piece. We would never have known this otherwise. She wrote a piece in the New Yorker about leaving, and she herself admitted the 2 columns she wrote, I'm pretty sure one was about Trump, one was about Bezos, who obviously owned the Washington Post. She admitted that she reduced, I don't know what the right word is, the intensity, the something of her criticism of whoever the subjects of her piece were because of the feeling in the newsroom. Now, we would never have known what we didn't see had she told us what we didn't see. So it's, at least for me, a little harder to say to people out there who say I don't trust the mainstream press, even the legacy press, when you have things like that. What do you say to those people?
Well, what I say is that she told us and she didn't have to. She could have just left.
Correct, she could, yeah.
And I note that the recent columnist who just made an announcement, he was leaving from the Washington
Porter, is that his name?
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
he
Porter,
said,
yeah.
These are the reasons. I can't operate like this, understanding that there's going to be this pressure on me to sort of follow this lead that is just unconscionable as far as I am concerned. So the way that we would know and the way that all of the readers and the viewers would know is that people will say and talk about it because it's shocking to them too. I mean, the guy who just quit the Washington Post, it was shocking to him. So that's the only way that you're going to know that.
If they choose to out themselves, essentially, yeah.
You know, it's a great example, because I'm not a fan of Fox News. A lot of people have talked about the fact that in the past week, or I'm not sure exactly what the span of time was. Yeah, this week. The Fox News covered the Sydney Sweeney Good Genes ad 28 times more than Epstein, because Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about Epstein. And this is some actress that's doing this ad. I think it's for American Eagle?
Yeah,
yeah, and it's it's a sexy ad. She's got her hands inside her jeans and stuff like that. That's what they talked about.
That's not the point of the ad, though. That's not the
I don't know.
driving
I don't know
force
what
of
the
it.
point
It's
of
the
the ad
eugenics
is.
criticism, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But they talked about that, which seems rather odd.
Well, that's not the first time that the folks who say out loud they support him have chosen to talk about something else and not what's in the zeitgeist. I think what's interesting with regard to Epstein, however, is that it's in the zeitgeist in MAGA world. So if you're in MAGA world and that's, that's a big piece of your audience and you're not talking about what MAGA world is talking about, that's really different.
Yeah, yeah. They've not talked about, although the Wall Street Journal obviously has.
I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, you two, that we're going to have Olga Cherevko, who works for a branch of the UN. She's zooming in at about 12:45 from central Gaza. I'm not sure what the city is. We'll tell you in a little bit. And one of the things we want to talk to her about is at the same time that the press is reporting about this mass widespread starvation, imminent famine, and that sort of thing, there's been a lot of focus by people, some responsible journalists, some who want to create doubt about starvation, about an image that originally appeared in a British paper called the Daily Express, subsequently in the BBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, of a mother holding an emaciated baby, barely, all bone almost completely. And while there was a hunger issue, what was disclosed after the fact is that the young, I think a year and a half old, had a muscle disease. I'm not sure exactly what it was. And there was a feeling that there should have been fuller disclosure, which I think there should have been. It's unclear if it was intentional or otherwise. But it's being used, I think, as I say, by some responsible people, some irresponsible people, sort of, I used to say Reagan governed by anecdote. You pick one outlier and you say the outlier is everything. What's your reaction to the impact this photograph has had in terms of those who have chosen or decided to doubt? For example, Netanyahu says there's no starvation in Gaza. What's your reaction to the photo and the whole thing about it?
I think, in a famine, whether it's, man-made or otherwise, the people who are sick and children are the first ones who are going to die. So the health status of this child, what about the fact that, that no medicine has gotten into the hospitals in Gaza, that the hospitals themselves have been bombed, that health workers have been targeted and killed? It's just, pointing out that that this child had a pre-existing condition is so surface level, it's so small compared to the depth of.
But should they have disclosed it? By the way, I failed to say the other criticism was that they allegedly cropped the photo so that the sibling of this young child, who apparently looked healthy at least, was not in the photo.
I think it's healthier, I'm not sure. Healthy.
Should they have disclosed the illness?
I think that I think given that so many children, so many people in Gaza are facing famine or are experiencing famine, that so many people are going to die, even if food comes in, even if there's nutrients come in. I think it's almost immaterial that this child had a pre-existing condition. Famine is famine.
Do you agree with that, Callie?
I agree with it, except that I know that how these images gets distorted and then the image blows up and you forgot the point of the story, because I keep going back in my mind. I think about a lot of the images from Katrina. Excuse me, people are hungry outside and standing outside in deep water. They're unhoused. There was all these images floating around that had various stories about them until finally we were able to get some reporters to get down there and verify exactly what was happening. So I'm keenly aware of how people will use an image because pictures are powerful to express or to try to insert some doubt here. Yawu is right. Famine is all over. This particular photographer took the picture of this person. And I wish just to have staved off that, so we didn't get off the point that people are starving, including this kid who has a pre-existing condition, would have been better. But, now it's out there. And so now they're going to use it to question every other photograph of starving children, of which we know there are many.
Yeah. Which is already happening. And
right.
People are already saying, why is the mother not starving? And, again, we know children die first.
Yes.
Elderly die first.
Yeah. I think, I like to think we're reaching a turning point in terms of people doubting what's going on in Gaza. It seems to have been changing in the last...
I mean, fewer.
Yes, fewer people, I think, are doubting what's going on there because there have been so many pictures, as you say, of people in desperate situations.
Well, now they have to do something about it if they're doubting it, don't you think?
Well, that's what's horrible. I mean, we could stop this, and we're not.
I think a lot of people are saying, have been saying to themselves and now saying out loud, is this going to be a situation, or I fear that it's going to be, the kind of stuff I read in the history books where we sat here, we knew we did nothing. And what am I to say to myself and then, my children?
Well, I mentioned to Jim this
morning. Could you lift your mic about an inch, Callie, if you don't mind? Just a drop. That's perfect.
I mentioned to Jim this morning, there was a good interview on the Daily this morning, the podcast from the New York Times, an interview with an Israeli reporter that was talking about the blowback she had gotten by mentioning this photograph and other photographs, and that there's that even though you can go online and you can go to TikTok and you can go elsewhere to get to see pictures and stuff, that a lot of the mainstream media in Israel has not been covering this, and a lot of people don't realize, especially if you're older, what is going on. And she talked about how when she mentioned it on this television show she appears on, the blowback was huge, and her theory was that the trauma of October 7th is still so strong for people that they may know bad things are happening in Gaza, but they don't feel comfortable publicly talking about it because it looks like they're turning on the Israelis. That was her theory, at least, whether that's widespread to be true or not. But I thought that the trauma is still there.
We were talking to Yawu Miller, and Callie Crossley.
Yeah, go ahead, Yawu.
It was interesting. The New York Times, this was on the Daily, but, a year ago in 2024, there was a communique that circulated among the reporters that they were not to use the word ethnic cleansing, they were not to use the word genocide, they couldn't refer to the refugee camps in Gaza as refugee camps, and they couldn't use the word ethnic cleansing or the phrase ethnic cleansing. And, at least one reporter leaked this to The Intercept, where, they wrote about it. And, similarly, BBC reporters, 100 BBC reporters said, we're not able to report on this honestly. We're basically reproducing Israeli propaganda. So this was a letter from 100 BBC journalists. So it's just, when we look back at this, years from now and look at what, ask what we did, we can also ask what did we as media do.
Well, again, can I say, though, in response to that, I don't know about ethnic cleansing, I should, but we had the genocide scholar from Brown on the other day, Omer Bertov, who wrote a piece saying, in the Times, I'm a genocide scholar, I know it when I see it, was the title. Genocide is a term of art, and while I'm totally fine with a columnist saying it's genocide or it isn't, a reporter probably shouldn't use a term that has legal meaning unless they can make the case, right?
Right, or I don't know in the case of the New York Times, does that mean they couldn't say that that B'Tselem is calling this a genocide?
Okay, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying.
I just saw that in the communique, and I thought it was interesting.
So, Callie, let's come close to home. There's a piece in the Washington Post the other day by a conservative journalist who did not support federal funding for PBS and NPR, said we conservatives, I'm paraphrasing, should big time hope PBS and NPR do great. His thinking being, if the free market supports us enough that we are held harmless or whatever, it will prove that a shrinking government is perfectly fine without all the, well, I guess he would call, he didn't use this word, whining by people like us about how important government funding is. What was your reaction to the story?
My reaction was that he picked out all of the shows that many people are likely to know. All Things Considered. He picked out Morning Edition. He picked out Sesame Street. All of these shows, and said they'll just do fine on their own, and they would have done fine on their own. No, they wouldn't. You know why? They've built the audience. They've built it, and they didn't have to have the pressure of responding to market. Because I can imagine in the first iterations of Sesame Street, if it were a free market situation, and somebody saying, some big executive, and hey, that's their job. I don't know. This ABC stuff, this is not looking good. I don't think the numbers are up yet. Maybe we ought to cut it back to, 3 episodes, or maybe we ought to, just futz with it. Whereas in a situation where it's publicly funded, the creators were allowed to do what the creators did, which is allow it to build. They were able to shape it. All of these things did not happen overnight. It's quite easy to say, we'll fund this every year. Conservatives will be happy to fund that because it's already done.
Well, particularly when it's a startup, as you say, which I hadn't really thought about.
Right.
It's a really
and then
point.
I also want to say that the importance about public broadcasting, of course, is that you're trying to make certain that there is a plethora of ideas and variety of perspectives and all of that. And some of those perspectives from this guy would never have been seen. So what are we talking about? That was never going to come to the fore. So, no, that wasn't going to work. I mean, I think it was interesting, the piece by Brian Stelter talking about,
CNN.
The conservative, the Breitbart guy saying he was in Hawaii when the tragedy happened, when the almost tsunami happened, and he couldn't find any news. Local news is very important. And then Brian Stelter said there was plenty of it. And by the way, some of it that was provided has just been undercut by 9%.
Hawaii Public Radio.
Anyway.
Which, by the way, was part of the case that was made by the bosses in Washington and the Ken Burnses and Rick Steves and all these people was exactly that. This is not just the source of news, but the source of life-saving information for a lot of people.
And here this guy was saying, I couldn't find any life-saving information. Well, it was there. And you've just cut out now the legs out from under it. But anyway.
And speaking of the BBC, if I'm not mistaken, is government funded.
Yeah. Of course,
like the arts in so many countries around the world, except for us, is government funded. So the Herald did a story about these 2 Globe reporters, a photographer being attacked in the Melania cast by an alleged drug dealer that was allegedly swinging this cat paw. I never heard of it, but I guess it's a weapon with a metal rod and nails sticking out. Yeah. And the head of the Globe, Nancy Barnes, talked about security. You were a reporter, Yawu. You were a reporter. This is not what you want to happen, but I don't think reporters get enough credit. It's often a dangerous job. Never mind being these heroic people in these war zones in Gaza, but just reporting in Boston or even in the suburbs.
I think
you're knocking on people's doors.
We have a minute, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think when you're a photographer, you have to be conscious. And I've oftentimes photographed stories that I've written that there are people with outstanding warrants, people with child support payments they haven't made. They don't want to be seen in public. You just have to, you have a right to shoot anything that's in a public space. So you can take their picture. They don't have a right to say no.
Exactly.
But you have to keep an eye on the whole scene and know who's around you and whether they're going to come at you. I've had that situation before where people are like, you taking my picture? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And with digital cameras, you can turn around and say, look, you're not in the photograph. But yeah, I think in that situation with the Globe reporters, running away was probably the only reasonable decision.
How about, we only have 30 seconds, Callie. Both Nancy Barnes, who's the editor of the Globe, said they were going to think about security for certain assignments. Brian McGrory, her predecessor, was on with us Monday, agreed with her. I think we not so much. Marjorie's been out on the streets. I obviously haven't. What's your take on security?
Well, we've had a discussion in the newsroom about being safe out and covering some of these protests because people's, emotions are right at the surface. I just want to say, as a reporter, one of my biggest attacks was not at a place what you would expect, the Indy 500. I literally had to leave with my camera crew. So you never know.
So would you want security in 10 seconds?
I think if you think it's a situation, and maybe this has become one now, maybe you do get some.
Good to see you both.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us. We've been talking with GBH's Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, co-host of the Culture Show's Week in Review, which starts right here at 2 o'clock, right after we're done. Yawu Miller, editor-in-chief of the nonprofit news outlet The Flipside. Flipsidenews.net is the website. Thanks to both of you for coming in. We can say goodbye to those listening on NEPM, and thank you very much for tuning in. You can also on NEPM tune into the fabulous 413 at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Our show continues here in Boston, coming up with a legendary TV heartthrob and movie heartthrob, John Davidson, who's going to entertain us with some great music. Media maven Sue O'Connell. That's next after the noontime news. You're listening to Boston Public Radio at the Boston Public Library.
It's not over yet. More smart conversation about community issues up ahead with Jim Braude and Marjorie Egan on Boston Public Radio, right after a news update from NPR. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Mass General Brigham. Their leading heart and vascular specialists are committed to providing breakthrough care to patients with cutting-edge research and innovative treatments. Learn more at massgeneralbrigham.org/heart. In an uplifting competition, a new group of talented home cooks from different regions of the country showcased their signature dishes. Catch an all-new episode of The Great American Recipe tonight on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Braude, head on Hour 2 of BPR, live from the Boston Public Library. It's Live Music Friday with 70s TV heartthrob John Davidson. He'll perform love songs for us as part of his final season of John Davidson's Club Sandwich. At 83, he says he's retiring. Don't bet on it.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then it's media maven Sue O'Connell on Biden and Harris weighing in on the state of the democracy, the Smithsonian wiping the slate clean, on impeachment history, and more. And live from Gaza, we'll be joined by Olga Shirevko of the United Nations with an update on the starvation crisis there. That's next in Hour 2 of BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Sharp decline on Wall Street since the open, with the major market indices down 1.2% to nearly 2% this hour after President Trump unveils steep tariffs on a wide range of countries, sparking concern about how these import taxes will affect the U.S. and the global economies. A weaker than expected labor market report contributed to the losses, with employers creating only 73,000 jobs in July, fewer than economists had predicted. Well, the White House says more than 150,000 federal workers took the administration's deferred resignation offer. NPR's Andrea Hsu reports that number offers a glimpse into the scale of President Trump's overhaul of the government's workforce so far.
Until now, there had been only piecemeal information about how many federal employees had taken the Trump administration's offer to resign from their jobs in exchange for pay and benefits through the fall. 150,000 would represent roughly 7% of the government's civilian workforce. And still, the total number of people who have left the government, either because they resigned voluntarily or were forced out, remains unknown. The nonprofit Partnership for Public Service has come up with its own estimate based on official announcements, news reports, and limited data from agencies. That group found the largest reductions have been at the Treasury Department, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Defense. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
The Swiss government says it'll strive to reach a deal with the United States after the White House announced a higher 39% tariff on imports. Here's Esme Nicholson.
Switzerland's Foreign Minister Ignazio Cassis has expressed great regret in reaction to even higher import levies than expected, but added he is confident a solution can be negotiated before August 7th. The Economy Ministry says it understands that the 39% tariffs do not apply to the pharmaceutical sector, despite pressure from the US to lower drug prices. Swiss officials had been waiting to sign a joint statement on what they thought was to be the framework for a deal with the White House.
That's Esme Nicholson reporting. Britain and Canada say they're ready to recognize a Palestinian state if certain conditions are met. More from NPR's Scott Newman.
The announcements this week from London and Ottawa follow a similar one from Paris last week, although French President Emmanuel Macron has committed his country to making the move unconditionally. Michael Link, a Canadian who is a former special rapporteur for human rights in the Palestinian territories, says in the case of Canada, it would likely mean upgrading diplomatic representation.
Palestine would have an ambassador and a full embassy in Ottawa.
Britain says it would recognize a Palestinian state unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire, while Canada has said its decision is contingent on an overhaul of the Palestinian Authority and a pledge that it will hold elections next year.
It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. 3 residents who lived at the Gabriel House Assisted Living Facility in Fall River when a fire broke out and killed 10 people filed a lawsuit today against the facility's owner and the third-party company responsible for inspecting its fire systems. Mass Live reports that the lawsuit filed by the firm Morgan & Morgan claims the facility turned into a death trap. The suit claims the facility's owner, Dennis Etkorn, knew or should have known that residents often smoked in their rooms despite many being on medical oxygen, and that some smoked while being administered oxygen therapy. Officials have said the deadly fire was caused by either the failure of an oxygen purifier or improper disposal of smoking materials. Even though there was a no smoking policy at Gabriel House, the suit claims that the facility failed to meaningfully enforce it. No word yet on whether Etkorn has replied to the lawsuit. And even though the federal financial rug has been pulled from the public media, the debate on the issue in Congress is not over yet, and there's a fresh push to restore federal funding for public radio and television stations in the 2026 budget. Inside Radio reporting today that Democratic Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin told the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing yesterday that she believes there is a path forward to restore funding. She said the votes to rescind the funding passed by a slim majority, and that support for public media has had bipartisan support in the past. Baldwin introduced and immediately pulled an amendment that would restore CPB funds to the fiscal year that begins on October 1st. 68 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side. More at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan, thank you very much. We're broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, and we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello again, Jim.
Hey there. I'm pretty excited, I should say. You made it through another stressful news week, which means you made it to Live Music Friday. This week, John Davidson, a man beloved the world over, including by the two of us, by the way. TV host for shows like Hollywood Squares, the go-to fill-in for Johnny Carson's Tonight Show 87 times. The John Davidson Show. You may have missed that one, by the way. These days, you can catch him Fridays and Saturdays at his own club, Sandwich, in Sandwich, New Hampshire, as he rounds out what he says is going to be his grand finale season. We'll see if that's true. There's shows through September 27th, so you can go to johndavidson.com for tickets and info. Right now, though, John is here performing a brand new single called Rhinestone Pink Guitar. It's great to see you, John. Thanks for being here.
This is nothing. This show has had such depth, as you always do. This is a very superficial, silly song. So maybe it's time just to have some fun. And that's what I do at Club Sandwich. I don't get into politics at all because I got in trouble for that. No, I'm about to sing my song. I wrote this song because I found this guitar in a guitar store, and I thought, that is wild and crazy. And that is what I need, something wild. I've spent my life in the middle of the road. I've lived a fairly quiet life in the middle of the road. I've always tried to do what's right. I've always followed Boy Scout code. I've never been a rocker, never had a skull tattoo, no mohawk or a nose ring or a beard like Fu Manchu. Each time temptation popped its head, I turned and walked away. Never took the road less traveled, at least not until today. Well, in the music store, she was just hanging. She was the prettiest one by far. I swear I heard her whisper, have you ever had a rhinestone pink guitar? She got me looking at her body. She knew she had me in her spell. I saw her G-string sparkle. I saw her G-string sparkle. This boy next door is going to hell. I told her, please be gentle. I never had one quite like you. You're just so pink and sexy, and I'm so red, white, and blue. She said, are you walking on the wild side, shopping the bazaar? And are you gonna get a little crazy with a rhinestone pink guitar? And are you tired of singing backup? Do you wanna be a star? And are you man enough to handle a rhinestone pink guitar? It has another verse. Can I do one more? Oh, I knew that it was wrong. A voice said, she's no good for you. Her hot licks will burn your fingers. She's a temptress, she's a shrew. So with trembling hands I strummed her. I felt her vibrate from head to toe. And when I wrapped my arms around her, I could tell she was ready to go. So I paid the price and I bought my vice. I brought her home and with a great big grin. Now every night I pluck the pink lady. Every night I pluck the pink lady. And I'm living in rock and roll sin. And I'm walking on the wild side, shopping the bazaar. And I'm gonna get a little crazy with a rhinestone pink guitar. And I'm tired of singing backup. And I'm gonna be a star. And I'm mad enough to handle a rhinestone pink guitar. That's all I could do.
John Davidson. Join us, John.
That was great. That was great.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Come on over, John.
Okay.
Join us,
Let's
please.
get over here so he can tell us if we just heard fact or fiction in that particular story about the rhinestone pink guitar and that woman of somewhat questionable reputation.
You have to put the headset on there, John Davidson.
And you got to help him with make sure you got the headset on the right way.
That we have
No,
said
it's
on the
not.
show?
No.
John is saying that what he did is he lowered the what would you say you just said? What did you just say there, John?
I said that I did that. That has nothing to do with the cultural content of your show.
It does not at all.
You change people's lives.
We do.
I'm a clown.
Yeah,
I just entertain people.
You do entertain
Now,
people
hold on.
beautifully.
But we need that. Hold on.
Yeah, I think you might have changed a few lives listening to what you just sang about. I want to know, is this, okay, you got no beard, you got no tattoo, you got no piercing, but you saw this woman
I saw this guitar. I think of guitars as women.
Okay, this is about a guitar.
Well, I mean,
It's not about a woman.
think of how they're curved like that.
That's a very good point.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And I like the curves very much.
Voluptuous.
But I was a preacher's kid.
We know that.
Yeah.
Two preachers, right?
My mom and my dad. So everybody thought I was clean and wholesome, and I was.
You were
I was.
really clean and wholesome. Yeah.
I had no name when I was a kid. When I was in high school, people would just say, he's the preacher's son. People walk up and say, it was a lovely service. I'd be standing next to my dad and say, are you the preacher's son? I said, yes, I'm the preacher's son. Lovely lady would say, you look so clean and wholesome. Are you the preacher's son? I said, yes, I'm the preacher's son. A guy would say, well, you're such a fine young man. Are you the preacher's son? I said, yes, I'm the preacher's son. I said, Mom, I have no name. I have no identity. I'm just the preacher's son. She said, John Hamilton Davidson, you have a name. You are not the preacher's son. You're John Hamilton. Never forget that. Next Sunday, a nice grandma came up and said, well, I bet you're the preacher's son. I said, no, Mommy says I'm not.
Oh, that's a good one.
Why did it take you so long to laugh at that joke?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But there was I heard crickets there for a while. I had to wait
took me a
for
while,
you.
yeah. And I got it eventually. It was really good. You know, so John not only comes here. Are we allowed to say how old you are?
Yes.
He's 83, which
I know.
is really...
I mean,
he's
you're
83.
so full of energy. Give
You
hope
look
to us
fabulous.
all.
So the guy comes here to rehearse this morning, and what did you do for a half hour after rehearsal?
I wanted to see if I could make a few bucks busking on the street.
He literally goes out to Boylston
I
Street
thought you were
singing.
joking.
Because people do that in Boston. You see
Anybody?
people on street corners.
Did you make any money?
Not a cent.
Okay.
Okay, you know, you're painting yourself as the preacher's son, and you know the Boy Scout.
But I'm
and
an
all that.
atheist. I'm an atheist.
Well,
you know that.
You may be an atheist as well, but we all remember your Cosmo moment.
He doesn't like this.
That was one of the mistakes of my career.
Why was that a mistake?
In
You had a beautiful
73,
body.
You had Burt Reynolds and
I
Jim
did have
Brown.
a beautiful body.
You did.
You did. We see
but,
it right
but
here.
not
in front of
muscular. But Burt Reynolds did the Cosmopolitan Centerfold. It wasn't naked. It wasn't like Playgirl. He was wearing a towel.
Yes.
So they wanted to do it again. I was second to Burt Reynolds.
We know that.
But the trouble is, and I wasn't naked either. I was wearing a towel, a very, very large towel. But
Well, you needed a large towel.
Yeah,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
That's what we hear.
That was the joke,
Very
Jim. You don't
large.
have to explain the
I
joke.
guess I didn't. I just...
But they made.
That's a really good point.
They
I
made me.
didn't need to
They made
explain
me
it.
Mr. February, which is the shortest month. But
oh my God, we're gonna get canceled.
no, you're not.
We are not. But it wasn't a mistake. It was
a
fun.
mistake. You know, my mom and dad were very embarrassed by it. I had a manager, Andy Williams' manager, signed me to develop. I was going to be, and he said Helen Gurley Brown called and she wants to see if you'll do this. And I was okay with my wife as my first wife, and so we just did it. It was weird, but we did it, and the only Art Linkletter. Remember who Art Linkletter was?
Unfortunately, we do. Yes, we do.
Art Linkletter pulled me aside in the Brown Derby in Hollywood, and he said, "Why did you do that? What a mistake for your career."
Oh, no.
Well, of course it is.
No, it's not. Art Linkletter was sorry. He couldn't be doing it. That was the real story there, John. Come on. Nobody asked him.
I don't know. I don't think anybody wants to see me naked.
Oh,
it's not.
I have the picture right here. I wish I could blow it
No,
up. so
I've
people
never
could
done
see
that.
There it is.
Oh, my God.
No. Oh, you can't show that.
Woo! I mean, come on, John.
But
a heartthrob, heartbreaker.
I've never been a sexy thing like that, like a Tom Jones or Engelbert or like that. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't see myself. I'm more like.
Like who?
Well, Pat Boone, but not
Boone.
quite. But I don't know. I just never have been like a sexy thing, so I thought it was a mistake.
I think you're a very sexy thing myself
Yeah, that's
then
right.
and now. So Marjorie and I went with some friends to see Mick Jagger, who's a mere 81 years old, at Gillette a couple of months
that's
ago.
right.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
And he danced, we should say,
For 2 hours.
2 hours straight. So it just goes to show a lot of people in their 80s have a lot of energy.
You said to me before we started, even if you do is your final season at Club Sandwich, which I don't believe, but even if it is, you said you're going to keep performing. Why?
I think so.
Why?
I don't know. I was a very shy kid.
Yeah. Your
And-
preacher's son. Did you know that?
Oh, shut up.
Okay, thank you.
But I became a theater arts major at Denison University, and I found that I do like to get up on stage and have people listen to me, because as a shy kid, I never did. I love singing. I like the vibration on the front of my face.
Yeah.
I like working on my breathing because it's fun to support that tone. I like entertaining. I was jealous. Jay Leno used to open for me in Vegas.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he would give me jokes and stuff. And I was jealous of the laughs that comedians get.
Yeah.
Because the laughter seems like love that's coming out. A singer, they get lots of respect, and sometimes they jump to their feet. But laughing, I wanted especially women to laugh at me.
Well,
I love it when girls laugh at me.
Okay, but we're
And
laughing.
they laugh at me
a lot. Okay, fine.
At the most amazing
Okay,
times.
fine. Okay.
Okay, but you did get those laughs. I mean, all those times you filled it for Johnny Carson, which was like huge.
Yes, but I
Huge.
sang the opening. On Hollywood Squares hosting. I was the second host. Peter Marshall was
We
the
know,
first.
yeah.
Bergeron was the third. From
Local boy.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
that.
you were born in West Bridgewater, weren't you? You're a local kid
Grew
too.
up in West. I parked my car. I had a horse in my barn.
Okay, fine.
Brockton and West Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And then we moved to White Plains, New York, and they made fun of my accent when I was like 14. So I changed my accent. By the way, if Franny Skelton, I had a girlfriend here in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
Franny Skelton, I was just crazy about her. I just, for a couple of years, Franny Skelton, if you're watching, she lives somewhere in the Boston area.
Really?
Please call me at Club Sandwich.
Oh my goodness.
Number is 973-634-8149. And I'd
Franny
love
Skelton.
to talk to you.
Oh
Do you know who Franny Skelton's best friends with?
Harry
Harry
Heineman.
Heineman. He doesn't understand that, but whatever.
That
Some of
she
our
was the love of
listeners do.
Jim's life. She broke her heart in bar
No,
mitzvah
she's
class.
not the love. She's in my bar mitzvah class.
Yeah.
Don't keep saying it was the love of my life.
love
We were in
of
the bar
his life.
mitzvah
He
class.
wants to deny it.
You were talking about dating people
Yes.
that you work with.
That's right.
I did that twice.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer with those two women. And here, I think maybe that was my mistake. I've been married twice,
We know that,
and
yeah.
I found that I wasn't very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a crazy story, but my brother, who's 9 years younger than I, left his wife because my brother's a radiologist. He was, and he met a nurse practitioner from Scotland at a medical convention, and he left his wife. Well, they met on a cruise ship, and then years later they met at a medical convention, and they were together for 18 years.
18 years.
6 years ago now, my brother suddenly died.
Oh, sorry.
I was devastated. I went over to his funeral in Scotland. I had never met Wendy, his partner of 18 years. I got to know her. I helped her to spread my brother's ashes around different places. Ashes in Carmel and in New Hampshire and another place in Scotland. And we became very close friends. I loved being with her because she reminded me of my brother. She liked being with me because I reminded her of her lover. We gradually fell in love.
Oh, John.
2.5 years later.
John.
And we've been together now for almost 4 years, something like that. And I love her so much. She is a medical practitioner, the first woman that I've been with that wasn't in show business. My first two wives were singers. My first wife was Jackie Miller, who was a New Christy minstrel. My second wife was my backup singer in Vegas. And so, I mean, first of all, it's so easy to date someone that you work with. It's
That's
just
right.
so, yeah.
You can fall into it easily, but this is very romantic.
But Wendy, she wasn't interested in me. She didn't know of my career because she's from Scotland. She didn't, And so I had to convince her that how crazy I was about her. I had to work at it for 1.5 years, 2 years. And then she finally saw that maybe I was okay.
Well, wait a second.
Well, you have a
how is she, if
beautiful-
you're in love as much as you say, how is she going to feel if she's listening to hear you doing a shout out to Franny Skelton a couple of minutes ago? She going to be okay with that or no?
Listen, I'm not sure Franny's still alive.
Yeah.
I don't Well, a lot of my girlfriends have died.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Is it your song, your newest song about your love
Now, my newest
affair?
song's about Wendy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We're going to sing that in a minute.
Yeah,
here.
you're going to play
I'd
that
love
for
to.
us,
That's-
right?
yeah.
It's very romantic.
By the way, both of these records are I've got a record company called Verdict Music, who is interested in getting me a hit record.
Oh, God.
And so Rhinestone Pink Guitar, it's on what do you call it? Not specified.
Spotify.
Thank you. It's on Specified too, by the way. If you need
Specified. It's on Amazon Music.
Yeah.
And
It's a riot.
they're doing a contest about Rhinestone Pink Guitar. What you do is you download the record. It's a great rock record. You couldn't hear it because I just played that. And you learn the lyrics and you sing along with John, and you video yourself on your camera and send it to Verdict Music, and the winner, they're going to choose a winner of the best rock, and you wear wild and crazy things, crazy stuff, purple in your hair, and be a rock star. And the first prize is $650, and the second prize is $250. Yeah. And
wow.
Anyway, Verdict Music, if you want to do that, it's great.
Like VERDICK, like verdict in a trial.
Like a trial verdict.
All right, verdict music. We have to remember
Okay,
that.
what are you singing
He's
now,
gonna sing
Mr. Davidson?
The love song.
Can I do my
inspired
love?
by Wendy.
Sure.
Yes.
It's called Walk With Me.
It is?
Yes.
And she gave me the idea for the chorus. She got a card that said something like, don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Don't walk ahead, I may not follow. And I added, just walk beside me and be my friend.
Oh, John.
So that's the chorus of the song.
Okay.
So she helped me write this.
By the way, we really do love you. I hope you know this, by the way. It's not BS. We don't say this about many of our guests. We are very fond of you.
Yes,
Mr.
we are.
Davidson.
Thank you very much.
And if you want to find out about any of these things, you go to johndavidson.com. You have to now gently put down your headset.
Gently, that's right.
Gently. You have to walk back to that pink guitar and play whatever you're playing.
Walk with me.
Walk with me. What's that again?
Inspired by
I have a regular guitar.
Oh, you have a regular guitar?
Yes, a regular guitar.
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm a professional.
You are. Okay, you want to go do this song? This is the great John Davidson. And by the way, if you want to have I spent a lot of time hello? Thank you very much. I spent a lot of time Googling John, and I've done it a million times every time I was on. Just look through his history. He's done some incredibly wonderful, joyful things. You should check him out. And the latest joyful thing he's doing with a real guitar. What's the name of the song again, Marjorie?
Walk With Me.
Walk With Me. This is John Davidson, dedicated to
His
Wendy
new
or
love.
Francie Skelton, depending upon who's listening. Here he is, the beloved John Davidson. You want to say something again?
And I'm going to sing live. Go ahead, Mr. Soundman, play the orchestra. This is the record without my voice on it. And
legendary John Davidson in the midst of an encore final season of shows at Club Sandwich in Sandwich, New Hampshire. For tickets and info on all things, go to johndavidson.com. That's easy to remember, johndavidson.com. Thank you so much, John.
Fabulous, John. It's
Coming up
great
after
to
this
see
quick
you.
break, media maven Sue O'Connell is here with the latest on Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He's Jim Brady. I'm Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Thousands of older adults are competing in the National Senior Games this week, facing off in shuffleboard, swimming, pickleball, and more. The biannual event has been around for decades, and now attendance is up.
There's going to be a lot more of us older seniors. I hope I can play till I'm 100, at least.
I'm Juana Summers. That story on the next All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Innuendo, open now and during the Massachusetts sales tax holiday August 9th. Hunter Douglas's PowerView line of automated window treatments available for purchase. Hunter Douglas at Innuendo and innuendo.com. And the Boston Symphony Orchestra, presenting the 2025 season of Tanglewood, showcasing the beauty of incredible surroundings and world-class music. Tanglewood, where music goes for the summer. Tanglewood.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Joined now by our favorite local woman, media maven Sue O'Connell. She's co-publisher of Bay Windows and the South End News, commentator and news influencer.
That's right.
Whatever. At NBC 10 Boston. Good day, Sue. Good day.
Good day.
Sue
Good day. How
O'Connell.
do you follow that? My
You don't.
childhood hero, John Davidson.
I feel the same way. I was watching him
I just
nonstop.
recently said to my daughter, it was really nice out, and she said, I feel bad that I'm not outside. And I said, I spent in middle school every single day in August inside watching Hollywood Squares.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
my gosh.
I just totally love it.
He was the best host of Hollywood Squares,
absolutely.
too. I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true.
It's true.
So going from a great story to an awful
Horrible
story, people are probably familiar with the name of Virginia Giuffre. She was one of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking accusers. She settled a big suit with Prince Andrew of Great Britain. She took her own life, had a very, very sad life, actually, and she's the one that was working, we believe, in Mar-a-Lago at 16 years old in the spa, the one that President Trump complained that Epstein stole from her. Anyway, her family was on CNN last night. I'm going to play a little clip of that family saying that Virginia Giuffre wanted the files about Jeffrey Epstein to be released and expressed that hope before she took her life. Here it is.
Do you think your sister would have wanted this information out there?
I know it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think one of the last months that she was with us, we had a conversation about that. And still to the day that we lost her, she was still fighting for those documents to be released. They are sitting in our court system right now. And I think we have taken that mantle on.
So this is definitely a humanizing of this woman that's been kind of talked about as almost like a stolen here, stolen there, and all that. What do you make of the family? What do you make of where this case is at right now?
Well, I think that the family is very. You can imagine how incredibly painful this is for them. Her death is still very recent, and her adulthood was certainly harmed irreparably by what happened to her. By Jeffrey Epstein and other things. And then you've got the President of the United States who's referring to her as property, that he worked for her at Mar-a-Lago and that he was most upset that Epstein had stolen his property rather than what happened to her and what Epstein was doing to her. So it's an incredible amount of bravery that the family has come forward. And I've also seen online, and this is the part that is just boggling me. I understand, there are things that used to be accepted or narratives that were believed. Police used to arrest 16-year-old prostitutes. right, and charge them with prostitution. So I understand, I'm not judging people for where they are in life when they think things. But a number of people online have just been, I've seen, especially around the conversations around her, well, where were her parents? Well, that's the whole point of taking advantage of people who, not everyone has a great set of parents. Not everyone has one parent. Not everyone has parents that understand what's happening. Some parents think because someone is wealthy, they must be a good person and they must be looking out for other people. So I think
it's like the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
groomers
they
groom people.
They pick vulnerable people, and that's how they get away with it.
And what, on the face of it, what a great opportunity. You're young, you have an opportunity to work at this great resort, you get to meet people, hopefully you can build a career, and then this other, millionaire or billionaire, depending on how you pretend his money comes from, you think, what another great opportunity. So I think it's admirable of them and the family to keep coming forward and reminding us that she was a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, a child, who was taken advantage of and assaulted.
You go first.
I was just going to say, what's really important to point out in terms of the timeline and Trump's involvement, he said that Jeffrey Epstein was stolen from him.
Virginia,
excuse me, was stolen from him. And one of the attorneys on CNN was saying, well, what did Trump think she was being stolen for? Epstein was in finance. She was not going to go work for him in finance at 16 years old. And the other point is that this happened...
That's a really important point, by the way, in terms of what did he know and when did he know it.
The other really important point is that 2 years after this supposed stealing is when Donald Trump talked about what a great guy Jeffrey Epstein was and how he was said to like beautiful women, and some of them on the very young side, which adds weight to the argument that he knew what was going on and he was still friendly with him.
Right. No, I mean, the idea that he is more offended, and I want to be careful too, because I know a lot of people who have big companies think of their staff as their property, right? I mean, this is a step further than that, obviously, because of what we know what was happening, but that you are a number on a sheet, that you are, there are all sorts of rules about poaching employees and all sorts of things, but, if we just take Trump at face value, the fact that he's more offended that she was stolen as an employee, if we just take it at face value, then actually what happened to her really says more about his character than, but what else do we need to know?
Let me extend that. Two very quick things, then we'll move on. One, I haven't heard every word Trump has said about this. In typical fashion, he has never, ever spoken about the survivors, the victims, and the survivors. Never once. That's one. Two, I want to repeat what we say every single day, particularly for MAGA people listening who cheer him on for telling Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, to try to get the grand jury minutes. So far, they've said they refuse to do it, the court. He has 100% authority today, at this minute, to order the release of every single file that exists in the Jeffrey Epstein's file, except for the grand jury minutes.
Right.
And according to experts, the grand jury minutes are an itty-bitty part of this, and everything else he has total power over, and has chosen not to do it.
Yeah.
So
in
whatever
the grand jury, that's who's in there. Two investigators talking about.
It's all based on the
Yeah. Okay. So one more thing about President Trump. Republicans want to honor the president for the great job he's doing, and they want to have a national day off for Donald Trump's birthday. They want to have a $100 bill with his portrait on it. They want to rename the Washington Airport Donald J. Trump International Airport. And the Center for the Performing Arts, Kennedy Center, after him, and they also want to put him on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and they want to change the name of the Kennedy Center to the Melania Center.
Who's opposed to any of those things?
He's a great leader. I think that Donald Trump is a great leader, and we should name everything there is, that every street should be named after him.
I like
just
that.
like Washington Street.
I like that, yeah.
Like everybody has there should be a Trump Street. Yeah. I think I'm going to change my name to Donald Trump. I'm going to put the paperwork through on that, and I think that everything we do should just be for the great leader. And if you could just save this clip, because if I want to leave the country to go on an international vacation, I'd like to be able to get back in, and I will play this clip. I'll have this on my phone. Okay?
She's so O'Connell.
Now you're getting me in trouble again, Jim.
You're listening to Trump Public Radio. So one last thing about him, which I don't even want to talk about because it's so aggravating.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to ruin my day.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian. This is not some hack who works for him in the White House. The Smithsonian removed reference to the impeachment of Donald Trump and only has reference to the 3 earlier impeachment efforts in our history.
The National Museum of American
History.
Exactly.
I can't even. Okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so let's
How
talk about
that?
this.
Like a Donald Trump, I don't want to talk about
Perfect.
it. How about
Here's
that?
really good news, I think, for American democracy. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are back. Now, the Joe Biden, let's play a little sound to get everybody in the mood.
Boy.
We're not going to play Biden. Biden spoke to the National Bar Association's 100th annual convention. That's mostly the black lawyers, judges, et cetera, in America. We'll skip that for the moment. We don't skip the concept. Here is Kamala Harris last night, her first interview since losing the election. It was with the guy who's also about to lose his job, Stephen Colbert. Here it is.
Recently, I made the decision that for now, I don't want to go back in the system. I think it's broken. I believe, and I always believed, that as fragile as our democracy is, our systems would be strong enough to defend our most fundamental principles. And I think right now that they're not as strong as they need to be.
I'd like to say 2 things here before we have this discussion. One, I have great respect for Kamala Harris, other than the fact that she apparently helped cover up the condition of Joe Biden. I have colossal respect for Joe Biden, except for the exact same reason. Having said that, I'm going to say something I know I'm going to regret in terms of the texting. I like to think, and Marjorie's going to trash me too for this, I would like to think I will know when it's time to go. The fact that people in politics in particular, even if they've done great things, don't understand how their continued presence is damaging to those things that they hold most dear, it's incredible to me.
Are you talking about Kamala Harris? You think it's time for Kamala Harris to go?
I think yes. I think that these rumors that she's thinking about running again. Do you think there's a 1% chance she could get the nomination?
Oh, well,
for president?
I don't know. And I hedged that because I was so wrong about the presidential election. I don't know if we actually had a robust primary process.
But we didn't.
We didn't. But if we did now, I believe that Kamala Harris this time in the 107 days was by far a much better candidate than she was
I totally
before.
agree.
And she's a very, very, very smart person.
It's not her fault that she only had 107 days. She lost. She's the past.
But I think that there's an opportunity she could be even a better candidate if she were to go through. That doesn't mean she should be the nominee. That doesn't mean that people would pick her. But I mean, if I were her, and I think that Colbert said this to her, I would be on the I told you so tour right now. That every single thing she said was going to happen if Donald Trump became elected is what's happening.
Who wants to hear that exactly? Who is the person who wants to hear that?
I think she's fatally damaged by the cover-up of Joe Biden.
Well, I know,
think
but
I
again,
told you so.
Right,
it
but you know
doesn't
what?
work
The problem is with the cover-up of Joe Biden, this is like a dollar to pennies comparison. It was devastating for our country that they covered up what was wrong with Joe Biden. Devastating, okay? And that's why we're here today. At the same time, Donald Trump is in no better shape the first term or this term than Joe Biden was. So when we compare,
we say that almost every day.
I know, but it's the truth. So it's like if we just say.
So does that mean we have to forgive?
No, we don't have to forgive. We just have to keep in perspective here. It's like Hillary Clinton's lies versus Donald Trump's lies. We keep doing this false comparison, and then we fall into the trap. Yes, they lied about Joe Biden's condition. He should not have run.
Can I tell you,
People
we never do a comparison. We're judging 2 Democrats and their continued presence on their own merits. To me, it is irrelevant that Trump is 1,000 times worse for democracy than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on their worst days. The question is, someday there's going to be a Democratic nominee running for something. In a year and a half, there are going to be 535, maybe 470 Democrats running for 33 Senate seats and 435 House seats. I think they bring that effort down. And by the way, I feel bad for her. She was stuck in a really tough position.
Yeah, there's no way she could have
107 days. Well, I thought she was going to win.
I thought she was going to win too, but now in retrospect, it's clear we all had bad information. It's sort of, we had no idea what the real polling number was. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why everybody was wrong about Kamala Harris's performance. And to your point, now I see there was no way she was going to win, but we didn't know that then.
Well, she also made the mistake she made, which, by the way, I would say that I completely was with her is the threat to democracy is the most important issue. As it turned out, nobody cared about the threat to democracy. It's the economy, stupid. Trump ran on the economy. As phony as his thing was, she ran on protecting democracy primarily, and she and the country suffered as a result. But I thought she was making the right choice.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's time for her to leave the stage yet. But we'll see. I mean,
what do you think? What do you think about it?
I think that they should not go backwards. They went backwards with Hillary Clinton. I think it's bad. She's associated with him. I thought she was a much better candidate the second time around, but she wasn't good enough. And when she said she couldn't differentiate herself from Joe Biden,
that is a very important.
That
point.
was a really. I don't know what she was thinking there. I think that really hurt her. Plus, she had the racism and the sexism problem too. But Democrats have a very bad track record choosing nominees.
Well, I mean, this wasn't a choice. I mean, that's the also
well,
the
it was a choice. Joe Biden chose her.
Right, but the Democrats didn't choose her.
But it was kind of like he chose her, and they all said okay. They kind of gave up.
Yeah.
Because for a while we were talking
only had
about
107 days.
But for a while they were talking about a primary. But then the thing was, hey, Joe wants her. We're going to get what Joe wants, and that was a mistake too. I think Democrats are too worried about
whose turn it is.
Whose turn it is, or who's really good. So that's just
okay.
me.
We only have 2 minutes left. Let's go to an upbeat. The longest-running feature film in the history of the universe, apparently, 1975 film version, Rocky Horror Picture Show. I would like to say, started running at the Waverly Theater on the Lower West Side of Manhattan in 1976 at midnight. Who was there at midnight?
Of course, it was Jim Browdy.
Thank you very much.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought it up.
Thank you for expanding on that, Marjorie. Here's the iconic time warp from that film, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
It's a great song.
Okay, I loved it then.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a few years.
I would go to the Exeter Theater, the midnight show at the Exeter Theater, which is now Montessori. That's how things change here.
That's right. It is
It's
Montessori. Yeah.
I think about the things I did in that theater.
Right down the street.
Yeah, I think about
What'd
it.
you do?
I can't say it on the air, but those are the things I did in that theater, and now it's a nice Montessori. So look, don't be worried. It's okay. Jamie's giving me the eyeball. John Davidson was just on singing songs. I think I can talk about what I did at the Exeter Theater. Can you imagine the Rocky Horror Show getting made today? I mean, it was also a slow burn, which is the thing that people don't get about it. You know, and Tim Curry, great interviews, great things that he's been, they've shared with how he got to where he was and how he had to tell his parents what he was doing, and it's just so iconic.
Well, who's in it? If people ask me, what are your favorite interviews of all time in the top 5? When Susan Sarandon was campaigning for Bernie Sanders, we had her in town. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Sue, we got to go.
Okay, thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. Sue O'Connell. Let's hear it for her.
Yes, you will.
Sue's going to be sitting in for Marjorie part of next week. We're really looking forward to it.
That's right. I'm on vacation next week, so Sue O'Connell will be here for most of the week, and we're very glad she's agreed to join Jim. Thanks, Sue. Sue O'Connell is co-publisher at Bay Windows and South End News, commentator and news influencer at NBC Boston. Coming up, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is growing worse by the day. Zooming in from Gaza, we're going to talk with UN aid worker Olga Sharevko. She's next on Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, they've written best-selling and critically acclaimed books. Books about real issues that resonate with readers. And all of their books have been banned. 3 authors whose books are the most challenged and banned in the country. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Creative Playthings, open for the Massachusetts sales tax holiday August 9th and 10th. Committed to supporting kids' outdoor active play this summer, offering swing sets, trampolines, basketball hoops, and more. CreativePlaythings.com. And Comcast, offering Xfinity with internet and mobile plans to help stay connected at home and on the go. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet requires Xfinity Mobile. Actual speeds vary.
Welcome back to BPR. I'm Jim Browdy. She is Marjorie Egan. We're live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. We have all seen the horrific images out of Gaza as humanitarian conditions worsen. The UN in Gaza says the situation is, quote, catastrophic, with children starving, workers overwhelmed, and fuel and water supplies critically low. We're now joined by one of those workers on Zoom live from Deir al-Balah, which is in central Gaza. She's Olga Cherevko. She's with us a month or so ago. She's head of communications for the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Her organization is directly involved with delivering humanitarian aid to Palestinians in occupied territories. Olga, we really appreciate you giving us some time again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jamie. Good to be back.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for joining us. So tell us what you are seeing and hearing on the ground in Gaza.
Thanks, Marjorie. So I came back just about a week ago. I was away for a couple of days of leave, and then I came back, and every time I come back, I'm scared to kind of see what I see, because it had every time I come back, it just deteriorates so much more. And this time wasn't an exception. I came back, and the first thing that hit me again is of course, the vast destruction as soon as you enter, and just massive crowds of people looking for food, starving, looking visibly gaunt, and seemingly the light had gone out of their eyes. And yesterday I was on a convoy on this mission to pick up supplies, and we were driving down the road. And alongside this road, I saw this elderly man kneeling down on the ground. And he was picking up handfuls of lentils that had spilled on the ground from the previous convoy. And of course, this is not something that you choose to do. And this is only the last resort that you turn to, because there's nothing else left. And that's the only way for you to survive.
How are your colleagues doing, Olga? You and your colleagues who are trying to keep the Palestinian people alive, how are they faring?
I mean, we try to kind of support each other as much as we can. And of course, most people who are working in Gaza are affected by the same thing, which is the shortage of food. And we've had colleagues who have been hospitalized or fainted because they are working very, very long hours and very little food. We've had colleagues who told us they eat every couple of days, and it's just really doesn't seem to have an end.
Olga, when you hear the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, say, and this is a quote, "There is no starvation in Gaza," what's your reaction? What do you think? What do you feel?
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look around, and I think now the world has finally seen what we've been talking about, which is these shocking pictures of emaciated children and adults, and these reports of more and more people dying from starvation. And of course, the latest integrated investigation IPC alert that was issued a few days ago, which was very, very grim. And the fact that we're seeing these horrific images means that starvation has been developing for all these months that we've been saying it's happening, because you don't wake up one day after one day of not eating and you look emaciated. It takes time to develop, and it takes time to manifest itself in a person's body. And the fact that we're seeing it just means that it has gotten to a really, really dangerous stage at this point.
The thing I keep thinking about is you try to imagine, I can't imagine really, but you try to imagine how you'd feel, because this is a man-made starvation. And for the Palestinians, it's like they must know that the whole world has kind of abandoned them. The United States could step in, Israel could step in, other countries could step in, but we're not. I don't know how that, do you have a sense of what people there think about this?
That's exactly what they say very frequently when I speak to people, is exactly what you just mentioned, is that they feel abandoned. They feel that nobody is paying attention. And I think one of the comments I heard that, they're just, they're so used to seeing these horrific images that they just don't care anymore. And it's a very frustrating thing for us as humanitarians, because we know what we can do when we're enabled to do so, like what we did during the weeks of the ceasefire, when there was ample volumes of aid and supplies entering on a daily basis, when we could move around freely and we could deliver it using our community-based methods and systems that we had in place that allowed us to reach people on the basis of needs and to reach the most vulnerable, which is what needs to happen now.
I want to just amplify one thing Olga said. I've read a lot about this, including on NPR a couple of days ago. She says you don't become starving overnight. It takes a while to get there. When you read stories about the impact on children who have starved, if they were fully fed tomorrow, the damage that is being done to young bodies and minds is not one that, according to experts, ever disappears. Olga, you mentioned a ceasefire. There's now, at least as far as I understand, for a limited period of time, a so-called pause on Israel, this 10-hour-a-day thing where theoretically people like you are supposed to be able to do your work. Trump the other day out of the blue said he's going to create food centers. I have no idea what that means. Maybe you do, in conjunction with other countries. Has the pause or any of these Trumpian announcements made any difference on the ground?
Well, we are trying to use this as an announcement of ease of scaling up or allowing a scale up of aid and these tactical pauses that were introduced since this week began. We're trying to save as many lives as possible and do what we can to pick up more food, to pick up more medicine and nutritional supplies and things like that are entering. And there is a bit more entering now, but it's still not nearly at the scale that it should be coming in. There's still items that are prohibited, like shelter, for example. We're now, I think, over 150 days since any shelter materials have entered. There are people sleeping in the streets. And beyond the volumes of food, supplies that need to be entering, as we've always said, we need to be able to deliver these supplies safely. So the tactical pauses that you mentioned, there's been a slight reduction in military activity during these windows, but operations are still ongoing. There are still airstrikes being reported and other types of strikes being reported during those windows and along our convoys. People are still being reported shot and being being killed and injured alongside our convoy routes and just in the past and alongside and in the vicinity of these militarized distribution hubs. Just in the past 2 days, over 105 people were reported killed. I mean, these casualty numbers around these areas, these casualty numbers are absolutely unbelievable. And so this is continuing to happen. So the routes that we are provided are still dangerous. The routes that we're provided by the Israeli authorities are still very congested, sometimes they're impassable. So it forces us to turn around and we still face massive delays. Yesterday, I was on a mission that lasted about 18 hours. Maybe there's been a slight decrease in how long we have to wait to move from one point to another, but it still doesn't enable us to do what we need to do, which is running multiple convoys a day like we were able to do during the ceasefire.
Olga, we only have 30 seconds. I hope that everybody listening to you right now wants there to be change and peace and adequate resources for people in need. What do those people do back here? What do we do to help?
Well, I think don't forget and don't stop talking about Gaza. And of course, we need to make sure that anyone with influence hears us and makes the decisions, the political decisions that need to be made to change the situation.
Thank you very much for what you do. Olga Shevrenko, Head of Communications, United Nations Office for Coordination. We'll be right back after the 1 o'clock news. Thank you.
GBH Radio is where you come to find serious news and analysis of local, national, and international stories. It's not just nice to have, it's a have to have. Support this trusted home for fact-based journalism at gbhnews.org.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the MBTA commuter rail, helping riders skip the stress of city traffic and parking. Just take the train. You can plan your trip at mbta.com/massbytrain. And The Art Drive, a juried open studio tour today through Sunday. You can visit artists in their studios along the seacoast of Dartmouth and Westport. Learn more at the-art-drive.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Ahead on Hour 3 of BPR Live from the Boston Public Library, we'll check in with Love Letters columnist Meredith Goldstein on the tricky terrain of workplace romance off the heels of Coldplaygate. And she discusses why some remote workers get surprisingly annoyed when their partner comes home.
I'm Marjorie Eag, and then we'll end the week with TV, opening the phone and text lines to talk about what you're watching in these stressful times. We think we're all tuning in to Mindless Comfort Show as well. Maybe you like watching stressful TV like The Bear or Department Q that gets you all worked up and obsessed. What's your guilty pleasure this stressful summer? Call or text next on the third hour of BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he is disappointed that President Trump has boosted tariffs against Canada to 35%. Dan Karpenchuk reports Carney also says his government remains committed to the existing Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement.
Carney says the USMCA is the world's second largest free trade agreement, and under it, the average U.S. tariff on Canadian products remains one of its lowest for all trading partners. However, some sectors, such as steel and aluminum, automobiles, and softwood lumber, are going to feel the weight of U.S. tariffs. Carney says Ottawa has made historic investments into border security and the fight against fentanyl. President Trump, in boosting tariffs, had given as a reason Canada's lack of cooperation in stemming the drug from coming across the border. Meanwhile, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said Trump could reconsider the tariffs if Carney turns on the charm and backs off from retaliation. For NPR News, I'm Dan Karpenchuk in Toronto.
The Democratic mayor of Lansing, Michigan, Andy Shore, spoke to NPR about how President Trump's tariffs are affecting his city.
Having those prices go up for development, for housing, for agriculture. Essex County has a huge greenhouse, and they send a lot of vegetables and things over. So people who want to eat their avocados and green beans and things, those prices are going to go up. And, the commitment in the election was prices are going to go down, and now they're going to go up. These are all extremely concerning.
Mayor Shore speaking with NPR's Morning Edition. New campaign finance reports indicate Elon Musk has been donating millions of dollars to help Republicans keep their majority in Congress in next year's midterm elections. NPR's Bobby Allen reports the tech billionaire spent months overseeing the president's Department of Government Efficiency before the two had a falling out.
Just a month after Musk said he had done enough political spending, he spent $10 million to back Republicans in midterm races. Musk is pouring millions into political action committees backing House and Senate Republicans. It makes Musk the largest individual donor to the groups this year. It follows Musk's falling out with President Trump. Musk has also pledged to form his own party he's calling the America Party. While there are few signs of that happening, the spending shows Musk's continued interest in influencing U.S. elections. The SpaceX and Tesla chief executive has criticized Republicans for voting for Trump's big, beautiful bill for adding trillions to the national deficit. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
Dramatic videos are circulating on social media of parts of New York City's train system in deluge. The Associated Press posted video credited to Chantal McLaughlin of a train at Grand Central Station engulfed in sheets of water yesterday. Thunderstorms generated intense periods of rainfall and flood threats in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. The National Weather Service projects the conditions for floods will continue through tonight. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Tenant advocacy groups are encouraging prospective renters to know their rights under the new law that now bans mandatory broker's fees. Mark Martinez is a housing attorney with the Mass Law Reform Institute. He recommends that tenants who do reach out to a broker ask some questions.
If the broker is trying to charge them a fee, they should be checking to see if the broker is working for a landlord. Because if the broker is already working for a landlord, they can't charge a fee to the tenant.
Martinez says renters who are having trouble with a landlord asking for a broker's fee as part of a move-in cost can now file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. And the Hamden District Attorney's office is determining whether to retry a man who was granted a new trial in a 1984 Springfield murder. Edward Wright was granted a new trial in April after a Superior Court judge concluded evidence had been withheld on some testimony was likely false. Yesterday, he was released on personal recognizance after serving 41 years in prison. Radha Natarajan is with the New England Innocence Project, which is assisting Wright. She says he faces a waiting game as prosecutors figure out what to do next.
It is their decision, and we are hopeful that they will now decide that enough is enough.
In a statement, Hampton DA Anthony Giuliani called the 1984 murder of Penny Anderson violent and cowardly, and that several prior legal reviews had supported the jury's conviction of Wright. We're seeing some sunshine out there, 70 degrees in Boston right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
It's Jim Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. Thank you very much. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Marjorie. In a recent Love Letters column, a reader reveals they have a fulfilling life with friends, family, and of course, pickleball, who doesn't? But one thing is missing, a romantic fling. Is that too much to ask for a person in their late 70s? Not according to our next guest, Boston Globe advice columnist Meredith Goldstein, host of the Love Letters podcast. Hello, Meredith. How are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Are we allowed to say, because often when you're here, people send us texts, and I bet you get them work. Does she have a boyfriend? Who's the boyfriend? Does she have a boyfriend? We're not going to go into a big thing, but your boyfriend is in the room. Is that correct?
That's right. He is, in fact, in the room.
He is in the room. And what do we think of him, if I may ask? Can we get into that a little bit? What do we think of him? Yeah.
Listen, I've deemed him worthy of bringing him to Jim and Marjorie. That's a pretty big deal.
It's like meeting your parents kind of thing, isn't it? Exactly.
Well, I think it would be very intimidating to be going out with you because you know all the angles. You know what I mean?
I don't think he finds it that intimidating.
Is it intimidating or not?
Intimidating?
Not at all. Okay, fine.
All right, okay.
Okay, that's enough
of
him.
So we're going to get to the pickleball lady and her late life fling in a second.
Story.
But earlier today we talked to our listeners about office romances, and you had a whole podcast about this off the Coldplay Gate, or whatever we're supposed to call it. And we were debating sometimes I think it's gone too far, where, you can't...
The rules, not the romances.
The rules have gone too far. Like, you have to run to HR. The people in your thing had to run to HR, but they were sneaking around a long time before they ran to HR.
Yeah, I mean, I need to admit this to you. When I found out that Coldplay Gate not only happened, but that it happened in our backyard, right? That it was here.
I know. Scene of the crime.
Not my first thought, but probably my fifth thought was I should talk to Jim and Marjorie about this. So I need to say that right off the bat.
We are really honored.
I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's so funny because when I'm here, often you're asking me about Bill Belichick and romance and all this stuff, and this is the thing that interests me because I think, to me, I've learned from Love Letters that sometimes we think things are cheating that aren't. So many couples tell me, this is none of anybody's business, but we've been open. This is consensually open. So I never assume there's a cheat. When I first read it, I thought I don't know. It's none of my business, right? But what is my business and all of our business is how does this affect the workplace? And I think what was so complicated about this was that it was two executives, one of whom runs the company and the other is, supposed to be the people officer, right? So like when I think a lot about workplace romances, I want people to find love at work. So many Boston Globe couples.
Yeah, everybody
These
at the Globe is married, aren't they?
Beautiful love stories.
Yeah.
And truly, especially when you have a job where the job in and of itself isn't even your whole life's work, right? Find love at work. It's something I think we're missing with all the remoteness.
Absolutely.
But especially if you have power, you have to be really careful about it and think about other people's experience.
I'm so glad you say that, because Marjorie was describing what I think we could fairly describe as orgy central over at the Herald when she worked there.
Hold on for a second. The Globe has got nothing. The Herald's got nothing on the Globe from what I've heard
fine.
over the years. We did have a roof deck at the Herald, which was problematic in one particular situation.
Very romantic roof deck.
You probably heard about it.
Can I get back to this for a second? Marjorie's, tell me if I'm wrong. Marjorie's position was in 2025, you really can't establish clear rules. You can't do this. I don't know what your solution was. My attitude is you have to have painfully clear rules so people understand what the rules of the road here are, and also not just to protect the lower level employee if there's a differential, but all the coworkers who feel they may be second tiered because of that relationship.
Which is no different than people being golfing buddies or friends from college or fraternity brothers or anything.
I don't know. It is complicated and it is a little bit different. I mean, I come to you not as a lawyer or an HR person. I come to you as an advice columnist. And what I would say is disclosure is important, right? So like what I have known with incredible coworkers is that they come and they say, hey, there's something new happening here. Can I be removed from management of this? And I think that's just very simple, that we have to acknowledge that it'll happen, but there's a way to do it right, I think.
Okay, so a survey we saw this morning, not surprisingly at all, except maybe the number is low, 50% of people in a poll said they'd had a romantic relationship with a coworker. That's not surprising. 1/3 of people admitted they'd had a relationship with a manager.
And you forgot to mention who are the biggest offenders in terms of these things.
Offenders?
People in HR.
In HR, that's what we heard, yeah. Including from an HR woman herself who calls. So what's your, I'm sort of surprised by that.
The
and if
HR
they
thing
admitted
is
it,
wild.
it must be higher.
Well, I figured it was the confessional factor. People come in and start talking about their personal situation behind closed doors. You know, maybe you've had a tragedy.
I just can't imagine. I mean, this podcast episode you mentioned, we reran it because of Coldplay. This was an old episode where an HR person falls in love with a coworker. They have a secret romance. And I felt a little bit complicit because I thought we really build this as an incredible romantic story.
I loved it.
And it is, except they were both willing to go and knew that was what was on the line.
But here was the interesting thing, I thought, because we talked about this before. When do you go to HR? And that's an awkward thing. And I think they did what most people do, is they sneak around and keep it on the down low until they know this is a thing before they march into HR.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't go after a first date to say, I just had a first, it's like none, but this is obviously coworkers, not managers. And so I think it depends on who you are. And I also think it's important for anyone in power to think, or who thinks they're not in power. I've thought a lot about this, right? Like, I've been at the Globe, 100 years? So I think technically, 22 years. I am the boss of no one. I manage no one. But that doesn't mean I don't have a certain level of, she's been here 22 years, agency, leverage there. And so I want to be careful about that. If I'm an older employee there, there's a power that comes with that. So when you think you're in the clear, are you? You know, are you putting your coworkers
She's
at risk?
with me, by the way. It's pretty clear. You need rules, right?
Well, I would just like to say, as someone who has known about the Globe for about 100 years, that the Herald and the Globe have I mean, they're both notorious in this regard. I would say the story is coming from there.
You notice Meredith is not responding to any of your assertions.
I'm not going to comment on that, but what I am going to say, what I am going to do to deflect the conversation is to say that it makes sense to me that when you love something and you care about the work you do and you share that with other people, of course people are going to develop feelings, and sometimes I think that's the most wonderful thing ever. You just have to think, am I annoying? Am I being, abusive of my power? Am I putting other people at risk? The golfing buddies thing is a really interesting idea because, some people you're just going to like more than other people.
That's true. That's always the argument.
I think about breakups all the time
That's the
with
worst.
workplace, because I have had a workplace breakup and I did not love it.
Well, you mentioned that before. What happens then?
If you have to go in and sit 2 desks down from the person who just broke your heart, that's not easy. Or see them in the lunchroom, or wonder if they're going to ruin badmouth you if you're, you know what I mean?
Or you do what I did, which is find a different bathroom to go to. You go to a totally different floor. You just go to a different floor.
What was that movie about the lawyers in Boston where Harrison Ford's wife was always in the bathroom crying all the time? Remember that?
I think everybody's always in. That's what bathrooms are for.
That's what bathrooms are for. We used to have a couch at the Herald. That was great.
Excuse me?
Yeah, in the women's room.
Oh, okay.
In the women's room.
We had a couch in the.
You need a crying couch, Meredith.
One time, I will tell a story that one time I went into the Old Globe women's room, and there, asleep on the couch, was Christopher Mew, their travel writer.
No.
It was the most.
In the women's room?
It was the most precious. It was after hours. There was the only couch we had. And it was the most precious thing I'd ever seen.
Save that for when Christopher joins us. So we are talking to Meredith Goldstein. So my favorite by far is the almost octogenarian. Tell the story. What did she say to you?
Oh, this is our pickleball friend?
Yes,
I
this
love
one.
this. I love when people write in and say, like, I just feel like having a fling, and then it turns out that person's in their 70s, and I think...
78. She's almost in her 80s.
Which, like, why not?
I agree.
Free time, hopefully. And one thing, I recommended was try Dinner with Cupid Again, which is, the Globe magazine's
I love that.
blind date series. And I encouraged readers to submit family members who might be a good match.
Has anybody, as far as you know, or not?
I need to check in with them, but the magazine was so excited.
Can you go back a little bit? Go back to what she said when she wrote to you about, being older and what she was looking for and that kind of thing.
I think she was having this general existential question of what am I allowed to want for the rest of my time?
I think you're right.
And how do I want to spend my time? And is it so weird to just want one more affair, one more fling in life? And I was like, no, it's not. No, you can do that to the last second.
You know what I loved about her? She wasn't saying what you hear all the time, the cliche, oh, when you get older, you're just looking for companionship. I mean, come on. I think ideally you're looking for hot romance and passion.
I mean, companionship is nice, and sometimes I think companionship is code for people for a different thing, and they're just trying to be polite to me. But no, she was clear.
You know what they say?
She was clear.
And she mentioned she's a pickleball player. The line, I'm sure you both know it better than anybody, is the pickleball court is essentially what the Globe and the Herald have become. So it's exactly the same sort of...
I did just read a romance novel about pickleball written by a former Wellesley resident.
Is that really true?
It's called All's Fair in Love and Pickleball, and I thought, wow, a romance novel can really make anything sexy. It's possible. It's possible.
Well, we just had John Davidson in here who's 83 years old, and he just he was celebrating the fact that he went over to his brother's funeral, who died younger than John, and at the funeral he met his brother's widow. He didn't know her because they lived in Scotland, and they were together dispersing the ashes and talking about the brother, and he reminded her of the deceased brother, and he enjoyed listening to the stories about the deceased brother, and you know what they are now? In love.
In love.
He's 83.
In love.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story.
I love those stories. I always read I still read, they don't have as many as they used to. I always still read the Sunday Times style section when they have all the weddings at the end.
Yeah, we actually launched a new weddings column, The Big Day, which is probably about a year old now, and it's usually our most emailed feature.
Yeah.
People want to know who gets married.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and they had the couple in there last week, and I think they were both in their 80s as well.
We've had a lot of older couples, second marriages. If you know people getting married this summer and the fall, submit them. It's a fun feature.
Since you mentioned Dinner with Cupid, which I was hesitant to mention, this is not your thing, but it's another variation on a theme. I'm embarrassed to say I read them. I think they usually come out on Fridays. They're in the Sunday. I couldn't get there faster. But the thing I have to admit, which I hesitate to admit, is I usually go right to the comments. And people are vicious, number one. That's number one. Number two, sometimes one of the datees, if that's the right word, gives the person that they went out with like a D. What kind of person?
I don't know who does
Even
a
if you
D.
don't like them, don't see them again.
I have a lot of theories about how people score. Like, they don't want to score too high because what if the other person doesn't like them?
Yeah.
And then they don't want to score too low. A D is not nice. Unless someone was horribly rude. But I see a lot of, A minus, B plus, and I can tell everybody maybe wanted more or less, but didn't know how to score. How do you score a D? It's really hard. What if the food was bad? That's like, what if you were tired?
Okay, we're talking to Meredith
We have an
Goldstein.
HR person, Bob
What's up?
from Norwood, who's very upset that we're talking about HR professionals and more likely to have coworker relationships.
Yeah, I can't say that that's necessarily true. I did think...
It was in one of the stories. Our research
I'm glad
this
you've
morning.
done your fact-checking. I did notice, I think it was Larry Edelman in the Globe that wrote about CEOs being, universally disliked now. And I don't know that that's true, but I do think it brought up a lot of questions about, can we trust HR? And how do we know we can trust HR? And who is HR working for? A lot of people have written about that. Like, how do I know this is safe for me? And I understand that HR people want to speak out about this in particular, to say.
No, I've heard a lot of people going to HR, and this is not obviously GBH, but other people that I know that work elsewhere that go into HR to discuss a really sensitive problem.
Yeah.
And before you know it, the HR person has squealed on them to higher ups in the company. Which
Obviously, she's talking about the Herald. Now, this is the name of the movie you referenced before. One of our colleagues.
No, it was not.
It's not What Lies Beneath?
It was a TV show about lawyers. It was set in Boston.
Oh.
With Harrison Ford?
No, his wife, the woman he was married.
Callista.
Ally
McBeal.
McBeal. Thank you, John. John Parker knows everything. Ally McBeal. Remember they had the.
I love that you said that his wife. I
Yeah.
like that. I could have worked that out.
I couldn't think of her name. I couldn't think of her name.
Yeah.
I think are they still together? I'm not
They
even
are.
sure.
Callista
Flockhart. John, once again, thank you very much. Callista Flockhart, who spent half her life as a lawyer in the bathroom crying over some romance that went south.
Yes.
Do you want to pick another topic? To
Oh
talk about
yes,
here,
I'm
Marcia?
sorry.
You part of this
I was very busy talking about other things.
The Herald.
Okay, this is one I think is a little much. This person that's complaining about the messy kitchen.
I have a lot to say about
Yeah,
the
tell
messy
us this
kitchen,
story.
especially with my significant other. In the
Okay.
audience. Okay. So this letter writer was like, my fiance is messy, but he also cooks everything. So the kitchen is a mess, but he has cooked everything. And I feel, as someone who does not cook, that it's my turn to clean if I didn't cook. And I got a lot of anger, especially from women commenters after that, who wrote into me to say, if you make the mess in the kitchen, you clean it.
Wait a second. She didn't say, the one who wrote you didn't say, since he cooks, I should clean.
No.
She said the opposite.
She said he should clean, and I said,
Oh, you
no.
said, yes.
I said, no, you are lucky to eat it.
Exactly.
You clean.
Eat it, exactly.
And no, a lot of women did not like that I said that.
It's a simple notion. He cooks, you clean.
Yes.
Is that not what your point was?
That was my point, and it was not taken well by many.
And for what reason exactly?
I think I was hearing from women who do so much cleaning in other rooms of the house that they're saying, don't let anybody off the hook. And I don't want to generalize about gender, but it was mostly women saying, listen, if you make a mess, you clean it. And I just think they're speaking to other parts of their life.
Before we get back to your columns about advice, can I bring up what do you want to do?
I was going to say, I love the response in this from the woman who talked about her wonderful boyfriend. It's long, but I'll try to read it fast. She was saying, I can relate to this because my guy's good-looking, thirsty, loyal, romantic, thoughtful, hardworking, makes me cry, laughing so much, same music, same TV, loves my kids, does everything I want to do, financially responsible, blah, 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 blah. But he also leaves dirty dishes all over the house, steps out of his shoes and clothes, leaves them on the floor, forgets to shut the refrigerator, garage doors, cap off the toothpaste, muck from his golf shoes, and on and on and on. But she says, I say nothing except to please close the refrigerator door because she's grateful.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know.
It's complicated, right? Because the kitchen is its own planet to me. Everything else is something else.
Yeah. She's saying when he does all those wonderful things, we should basically shut up. And I'm with you. If somebody cooks the dinner, I'm grateful somebody would cook the dinner, and I'll clean it.
True.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about something.
Clearly, Jim was bored with that discussion.
I'm not bored.
Do you clean the kitchen?
I do everything. I am a cook. I love cleaning things because at the end of the thing, you feel like you have.
Yeah.
There's like a tangible.
There's a tangible thing. Jim likes to hang around grocery stores.
I do.
He lurks in the cereal aisle.
For what? Just to be calm?
Just for the fun of it. I like being surrounded by cans of corned beef hash. Liverwurst makes me feel whole, you know?
Okay.
Does? Okay, I'm gonna
If I see you in a grocery store, I will not interrupt your piece.
You know, I want to learn something else about you. We learned about the boyfriend. Let's go to this. You wrote a piece about the Conjurers Club, which you can describe in a second. And if you want, you can talk. I'm not that interested in the club, even though you should feel free to talk about it. I'm interested in how you feel about participatory theater experience. Jared and I go to things occasionally together, and I was shocked and thrilled that Jared hates being called on or included as much as I am in terror if I have a good seat, either on the aisle or close to the stage, that I'm going to be included. Do you?
If they had a section for "Don't Choose Me," I would sit in that section. I think we're all really secretly introverts, but whenever a production comes into the audience, I have to take a deep breath and say, okay, what's going on?
A couple of years ago, I took my younger kid to the Blue Man Group. I didn't know it was closing, but we had a feeling it might close at some point. And I thought I was going to hate it. I'm embarrassed to admit I really liked it. They were really engaging performers. But
it's
the
nerve-wracking.
thing was amazing. One, I literally was sweating, worried that I was going to get cold. And two, the people who do get cold, it's almost like they know. In fact, we had 2 Blue Man Group guys on, and they said they could tell from the stage, based upon doing this for a year, who was going to be a person who was going to really get into it.
I think
but the people they pick are unbelievable.
I think they've got to be good at it. And I've also heard from theatrical performers that Boston is incredibly introverted. So if they do their shows in New York or LA, people are jumping on stage. And that we're all like, can you just give us a minute?
I've told the story before, but I think for new listeners, I should just say, and then we can move on. The most recent thing Jared and I went to where I was totally humiliated, there's a burlesque performer. What's her name? Can someone find out quickly so I don't embarrass myself? She's legendary, worldwide famous, maybe from Australia or something. And the beginning of her act, she comes over to where Jared and I are sitting, maybe because she knew who Jared was, and she has a corset on, and she turns her back to me and asks me to unzip it.
Oh, no.
And I didn't. And I was more humiliated by the fact that I was the only person in the audience who did not play along with her than I was that had I done it. It was totally a mortifying. What's her name? Meow Meow, who is brilliant. She's really...
You just wanted to be in the audience.
So I don't want to disparage the Conjurers Club. Why don't you say in 30 seconds what it is?
Oh, it's going to be a magical show. Think about Boston's history with magic. I think they want to really replace Blue Man Group in concept of like always having a show on, like Sheer Madness and that's so I just wrote about how they're expecting to launch this fall.
Oh, okay. Well, the Conjurers Club.
But Blue Man Group is still there.
No,
are they not?
They're
did
done.
They close?
Not around the country, but they closed in a few
They're
cities.
only open now in like Orlando and Vegas, so
I didn't know
really they had quite a run.
Like 30 years here.
Is it 30 years?
Yeah. 30 Did you ever go?
Oh my God, yes.
It's pretty fun.
Jim doesn't remember. I was there the same night as he was.
Oh, you were down. You weren't. No, you were in a separate thing there, right?
I think I was
because we were
sitting
having
about,
them on the next day. Wait, were you the one with the blonde hair sitting next to us?
C'est moi.
Sounds like it.
You.
Yep.
I knew you were there.
I know.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking to Meredith Goldstein. We
By
only
the
have a
way,
minute left.
did you know how Marjorie, a guy that runs Legal Seafoods, met
Roger
his wife?
Berkowitz?
Do you know Meredith's wife?
No, how do you know?
Well, I'll tell you during the break.
Wait a second, I know them both very well.
Supposedly, she was a server.
Lynn was it at Legal Seafood?
That's what this texter says.
I never heard that.
We'll
Can you look it up?
We'll have to look it up.
Well, I guess we're not disparaging anybody anyway.
No, we're not.
2 wonderful people.
That would be the CEO and the server.
Former CEO. Oh, the CEO. Oh, well, I guess.
So there you go. What do you think of that? She should have lost her job, and he shouldn't have married her.
Can I tell you something? It is really good that you spread libelous things based upon a texter's representation.
I think the texter
that is really great.
He worked at Legal Seafoods for years.
Yeah.
Saw the romance blossom right there among the shrimp and the scallops and the scrod.
Scrod, yeah, the scrod is what did it.
There's
you had
nothing
me
more,
at the scrod.
There's nothing more romantic than
that scrod. Yeah, really.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Meredith Goldstein.
Oh, we're done?
Yeah. When is the I think so.
Yeah.
When is the podcast coming up again?
September.
September.
You're gonna love it, Marjorie. I have you in mind as
What's
I do
the season? What's the season?
I would say I'm not disclosing a theme right now, but I would say all of them have moments of inspiration and understanding. You'll laugh, you'll cry.
Great.
Yes.
I'm a
What's
big
the
fan.
Theme? Come on, give us a little something.
I actually haven't picked it yet. But
That's why she's not giving it to us.
The stories are great.
Okay.
That's what I'll tell you. It's September.
The stories are great. I'm a huge fan of your podcast and of your columns. Thank you very much
Meredith,
for coming in.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
all of you.
Meredith
Okay.
Goldstein.
We have been speaking with Boston Globe Love Letters Advice columnist and podcast host Meredith Goldstein.
Hold on, let's ask her the question we're going to ask the listeners.
What?
The final rest of the show is going to be about this. The conventional wisdom since COVID is that in stressful times, and they couldn't get more, well, COVID was very stressful. They're pretty stressful now. The kind of television and film that people want is like the Great British Baking Show kind of thing. In fact, there's a story in the Atlantic saying people are going in the exact opposite direction. The Pit, Department Q, all these things that in many ways deepen your anxiety and stress. Where are you?
Well, they're grown-ups on a lot of those shows, so I get it. No, I'm watching Masterpiece. I'm watching British people solve a crime really easily. I'm watching Grantchester every night.
Grantchester's great. What's the one you're watching? The other British one?
Well, Grantchester is really like
but what's the one with the crime every night?
Oh, that was Grantchester.
Okay, Grantchester. Okay.
I feel like it's like a sedative, and I'm so happy.
It's great to hear. Good to see you, Meredith. Take care.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Okay. Meredith Goldstein is the Love Letters advice columnist of the Globe and the podcast host of the Love Letters podcast, which is great. It's on. It's repeats right now. You can listen to it right now. The new ones come out in September. But you got about 6 seasons or 7 seasons under your belt, don't you?
10.
Oh my God.
Let me give you a little advice.
So
You should
old.
probably figure out what the theme for the next season
I'll
is
figure it
pretty
out.
soon.
All right.
Okay, good.
Coming up after a quick break, we're ending. Jim just spoke about it. The idea of things are kind of tough in the world these days. Well, what types of TV shows are you watching? Are you doing it for the British baking show to soothe you, or do you find that other things that are really kind of scary and anxiety-producing and in some cases really bloody, like The Pit, are soothing you instead? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR and 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, they've written best-selling and critically acclaimed books. Books about real issues that resonate with readers. And all of their books have been banned. 3 authors whose books are the most challenged and banned in the country. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And the Peabody Essex Museum, presenting Knowing Nature, Stories of the Boreal Forest. Captivating photos and interactive displays take visitors inside a vast wilderness. On view this summer. PEM.org. And the MBTA Commuter Rail, helping riders skip the stress of city traffic and parking. Just take the train. You can plan your trip at mbta.com/massbytrain.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. As we said, with the way the world's headed, you'd think that most of America would be tuning into easy viewing kinds of thing. The Great British Baking Show, Ted Lasso, Love Island, RuPaul. But according to a piece in The Atlantic, the shows that everyone's watching right now are shows like The Bear, The Pit, Department Q. The types of shows where stress is the centerpiece, shows that have you leaving grip marks in the arm of your sofa, shows that have you anxiously gripping at your Marjorie Dickey, as a matter of fact.
That's your Dickey.
The question for you to call or text is 877-301-8970. If this is true, why? As we all watch our small d democracy disintegrate, ICE traumatize our communities, and all the rest of the horrors in the news, why do we seem to feel soothed by watching shows that are so deliberately unsoothing? So where are you on this? You still doing the Great British Baking Show kind of thing, or like Meredith is doing, Grantchester, that sort of thing? Or are you doing what it turns out most of our team and I are doing? I only made it through 1 episode of The Pit for reasons I'll mention in a minute. Department Q, I am totally obsessed with. It could not be darker. All that Nordic noir that I am totally into. Why do you think this is, Marjorie? Because the conventional wisdom, which I totally ascribe to, which I think was accurate through COVID, at least, and post-COVID, is you look for a counter to what your life is like. And so that would mean soothing. And we're, as I say, going in the unsoothing direction. Why is that?
You know, I don't know. You know, somebody is saying the opposite, that since last November, this person says I can only watch Scooby-Doo and Flintstone reruns and can't take more of the stress on TV. But I think I watched The Pit. It was pretty gory. It was about an emergency room. But it was kind of like that old TV show 24. It was every hour in a day for 24 days.
Which was really stressful, too.
Which was really stressful,
Kiefer
too.
Sutherland.
Very stressful. The Pit is very stressful.
You seen Department Q?
I stopped watching it.
It is as dark
It was
as
too
television
upsetting.
can get. It
was
is
too
fabulous.
Yeah, it was fabulous, and a lot of people really loved it. But I couldn't take that. That was too torturous.
And The Bear,
for me.
the first season, I've said this in the air a million times, I love the first season of The Bear. However, was it only 30 minutes long, I think? It's 30 minutes long. I was stressed out of my mind every single, and as the great piece in the New York Times said at the time, it's not really just about restaurants, even though on the surface it is. It's about workplaces in America, but I loved it. So how about a thesis, even if you're not sure? What would cause people to go deeper into darkness when the world in which we all live has so much darkness in it?
Well, a texter is talking about putting on Law and Order or Law and Order SVU.
You love that,
which is
right?
even worse.
Thank you for that.
Because Law and Order SVU is about child, crimes.
That's upbeat. That's good.
Which upbeat. But for some reason, maybe because it's not real, even though a lot of the stories were based on the news, so they were real. For some reason, there's an order to that doesn't bother me. At the beginning, you get what the crime is, then you have the suspects, and by the end, you have the person arrested and the trial. So it's a nice, neat little hour. So the person at least is going to pay for the crime. But I'm a kind of I'm depressed to say, Jim, because I have to read the news so much and watch the news. I'm not watching a lot of the other stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sad.
Okay, well, fine. Now, even though this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, since Marjorie's totally into Law and Order SVU, our team has given us some comedy from the great John Mulaney.
This is the best.
Here's a clip.
You can basically say whatever you want on television. It's ridiculous. And if you don't believe me, you should watch a little program called Law and Order Special Victims Unit. No, you can't say the F word, but people walk around on SVU going looks like the victim had anal contusion. Looks like we found semen and fecal matter in the victim's ear canal. Those are two real things that I heard on Law and Order SVU at 3 in the afternoon.
He is fabulous. 877-301-8970. But Law and Order SVU is not, or SUV as Marjorie called it this morning, is not really our topic. What our topic is what we soothing shows like most of us did during COVID, or are you deepening the darkness in which we all live by watching the Department Qs and the Bears of the world?
You like all this stuff. You watched that Squid Game thing.
With my kid.
Tell people about Squid Game.
Well, Squid Game is this South Korean thing. It's mostly, I've said this before, the violence is out of control. It's season 3, I think, and we watched every episode in 2 days. There's huge amount of violence, but as I've said, and maybe this isn't it's stylized violence. So it's not the same, for example,
that makes
as
a difference.
saying, if people don't want to hear this, you should stop listening for 3 seconds. The reason I stopped the pit is because shouldn't even tell that.
Just say the goriness.
There's a goriness that is that is too much for me, even though I loved him, and the star is really sexy. Now, Hannah, our coworker, says, this week I've only been what's the name of the star who's so good looking, that guy? What's his name?
What guy?
The guy on the pit. What's that guy's name?
Oh, I've got it right here somewhere.
He's really good-looking guy.
I gotta
In
look
any
it
case,
up.
Hannah says, our coworker, this week I've only been able to watch Seinfeld, the most apolitical show I could find. I think, again, that's where I think most people were. Noah Wiley, thank you very much.
He's the chief guy in the emergency room. He is really handsome.
He is a good-looking fella.
He's a good-looking fella.
Okay, Laura in Hubbardston in Western Mass, you're on BPR. Hi.
Hello, my radio friends.
Hi.
Hi. I'm calling to say that I need escapism.
Yeah.
Not only from the horror that's happening in Washington, but I have a beloved dog who has been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And so, yeah, terrible. And so I have been binging on The Umbrella Academy on Netflix, which is probably for kids, but I totally don't care because it takes me away from my reality.
So are you conscious? You are conscious of choosing escapist TV. It's not like you just end up there, right? You do it intentionally.
Oh my gosh, no. I know what I'm doing.
I'm embarrassed to say I'm probably the only person here who doesn't know what the umbrella whatever is. What is it?
It's a very quirky and strange show on Netflix where a whole family of kids are born on the same day and they have fractured the timeline and they have to go back and back and back to try to figure out how to stop the apocalypse of the entire world.
Well, that sounds upbeat. That's an escapist kind of.
It's funny.
Oh, it's funny.
It's funny.
Okay. Laura.
It absolutely is funny. It is. It's all this subliminal humor all over the place, and it is a total diversion from reality.
Well, you can tell in your voice how much it means to you. Good luck with the dog. Thanks for the call. Here's an anonymous texter who said something really interesting. Last week, I saw Marjorie driving her Law & Order SUV in the bus lane. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Don't you love that? I love that sound. Can we play that sound one more time, John? It's great.
It's pretty good.
Get you all excited. And then you can watch it for 8 hours in a row. As John Mulaney, he does a whole bit about law SUV. How
You've watched several hours with your kid, haven't you?
We just sit there before you know it. As John Mulaney says, you've watched 8 hours of Law & Order SVU. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Okay, so let's go to Bridget in the car. Escapist TV and film or dark stuff to make your life even darker? How about it, Bridget?
Yeah, well, you asked for a thesis about the general patterns.
Oh, please, yeah.
And I would say in my normal life before this year, I would always watch the comedy news shows and other lighthearted things. But now I feel too guilty being happy and lighthearted, and the world's so terrible. I honestly just watch nothing because I also don't want to watch something dark.
By the way, that is a great line. I totally get that. You feel guilty because you don't want to laugh and be happy. Bridget, that was a great call. Thanks for doing it.
Brandy from Providence has an interesting analysis of the Bear. Says she lets us know we're not alone in the chaos and human struggle, but also the desire to do better. So that's sort of interesting.
Have you seen The Bear?
Yeah.
And I wasn't exaggerating for effect. It is as stressful as 30 minutes of television can be.
It's very stressful.
About a subject you would think would not cause you great stress. But as I said, it wasn't my idea. A New York Times columnist wrote this. It's essentially, not every, but most workplaces in America. 877-301-8970 is the number.
I watched that thing, The Residence. That was a comedy about who got murdered.
At the White House.
It doesn't sound funny because somebody got murdered, but it's kind of a
it's
lighthearted.
wildly funny.
It's wildly funny
Great.
about somebody getting killed in the White House. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, it's not what you think, so don't send angry emails. It's a butler or somebody who gets killed in the White House, and it's a comedy suspense kind of
Rob
thing.
from Warren, Rhode Island is watching the Andy Griffith Show. My God.
You should explain for young listeners who
that
Andy
is like
Griffith
50 years old. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Remember the song?
Yeah.
He was the sheriff of this small town. His little kid was Opie or somebody was
who
Opie.
played Opie?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
That's right. Yeah, that was like one of those.
But whose favorite?
Americana.
Aunt B.
Aunt B.
Aunt
That's
B.
right.
He was a sheriff. Yeah,
yeah
you said
he was
that,
a sheriff.
didn't you?
I did. Yes, I did.
All right. So, okay. Breaking. Just an update on obviously news relevant to the world in which we work. Who's doing this? Where's this coming from? CBS, is that where it's coming from? Wherever it's coming from, the corporation, yes, thank you. Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which you know was defunded by Congress a couple of weeks ago, said Friday would begin winding down its operation after the funding was eliminated by the Trump administration Congress. Well, obviously it was inevitable. We just didn't know it was going to happen. Kylie in Attleboro, hi.
Hi, you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
So what I wanted to say is the whole misery loves company, right? Like, I watch these shows because if I can survive Trump, I can certainly survive the Pit and the Squid Game. Let's be honest, it's its own Squid Game here. But that's why I watch these shows, And my husband and I, we've actually bonded over watching The Bear. So.
Yeah, even though it's very stressful. Yeah.
What is it? You said if you can survive
right now.
But if you said if you can survive the real world horror, you can survive horror on television, obviously most of which is fictional. So does it bring you happiness, or what does it do to you, for you?
100% it brings me happiness because it takes me away from from
real horror.
Craziness.
Yeah, well, that's a good analysis, Kylie. Thank you for calling and doing that. We appreciate it.
Now, here's another interesting theory from Josh in Waltham. I love The Pit, not in spite of, but because of its realism. The characters care and are doing their best to help others despite immense challenges. To me, that's relatable and uplifting. And that's a very good point. You see, it's like when you see these stories about firefighters or cops, like that terrible murder
it is, of course.
in New York City. You saw that the police officer, lost his life and other people were injured, or or you see the rescue workers out in that tragedy in Texas with the floods. When you see those things, it is uplifting, and The Pit is uplifting in that way. It's fiction, obviously, but it's these doctors and nurses really trying hard
in an ER
to save people in an emergency room. So it makes you feel like at least somebody's doing the right thing, and even though a lot of people aren't.
Here are a couple of interesting texts which I think we can relate to. Anonymous says, I've chosen to watch the most stressful TV possible, CNN all night long. That is totally and completely true. And then Chris from Shrewsbury says, I watch and listen to BPR from 11 to 2 every day. So I've clearly chosen the dark side of entertainment. Then I relax with some old Frasier and Modern Family.
That's
reruns.
A good one.
That's a good mix.
And the person upstairs, of course, we forgot to mention this person above that, rather, I should say. The only thing I can watch anymore is sports. Just finished the Celtic Summer Series. Now I'm watching the Red Sox. The Boys of Summer is the only way to go. Jared Duran is eye candy. It's peaceful, relaxing. I like it.
I wonder if sports does do better in stressful times. That's a really interesting thing.
I think sports is a great escape.
It is a great escape.
You can get all worked up about your team, and they're winning, they're losing. And I mentioned this before, people watch golf. I think that's why they watch golf, because it's so quiet.
Well, the other thing about watching sports, I know this is not true across the board, but it is one place where people who have painfully deep political divides can often coexist, because we've heard so many stories through the years where relationships, friends, lovers, whatever, have terminated because of the political divide. There you can you're rooting for a common thing.
Don't you find, though, like watching the Celtics, and we all were rooting for them, and then they didn't make it to the finals. I find it very stressful watching the game.
You do?
Yeah, especially if it's close at the end. Makes me very nervous.
Yeah, okay. So, by the way, when somebody just texted and said, what with Nordic Noir I mentioned, these are these shows made in most Scandinavian countries, like Denmark and Norway and those kind of things, that are all dark, they're all mysteries. The only problem is almost every one of them, and they're mostly fabulous, there's generally a dead woman, like in the first 30 seconds of every episode. That's unfortunate. And one of the best of them of all is The Bridge. Do you know what the theme of The Bridge is? What the dispute is?
Someone falls off the bridge.
The woman is dead in the opening.
Another woman dead.
And the bridge is halfway, I think, in Norway and half in whatever.
You told me about
and
this.
And half of her body is in one country, one half is in the other. So that's not really uplifting.
No.
But it is. But it is a terrific show.
No, you've mentioned this Resident Alien, haven't you? Because lots of people are texting about that.
No, I didn't mention it.
I don't know anything about it, but a lot of people are saying it's their favorite new show now. Sweet, silly, dumb, but sweet commentaries on human nature and wonderful characters. Resident Alien.
Let me read one other because I love the show. Jamie, you watched all of Department Q, the whole deal. Julian Orleans almost gave up on Department Q after scene 1 of the violently murdered dead guy, but hung in there because I love actor Matthew Good. He is spectacular. So is his sidekick, whose name I don't know. Glad he did. Great writing, great acting, great scenes of Scotland, even though I prefer something less dark. That is a really, really dark show. And
it's a very dark show.
Very dark show.
Here's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm watching the new Law and Order SUV series where the Yukons beat up the Tahoes.
That's funny. Okay, Chris. Okay, that's fine. Chris.
I love that sound.
Look at you. Look at you.
I don't know
there
why.
really is something
it's
wrong
with you.
It's
not even funny. I don't know why.
You
I'm
want a song that sounded like little short sound? Maybe you can get that for shows. Little HBO thing.
Oh yeah,
you know
that's
when
a good one
the
too.
HBO, that
I love that.
That little thing because you know something really good. Can we get that, please?
Can we get
Thank
the
you.
HBO and we'll hear that one?
Yeah, that
would
really be uplifting for a lot of people. Okay. Chris in Pawtucket, you are next on BPR. Hi.
Hey guys, how we doing?
We're excellent. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well, Jim. It's a long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm stoked to talk to you guys.
We love that, by the way. But thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
So I think you guys make a very good point in that, all we do when we watch entertainment or read a book or whatever it is, it's all escapism, right? I love stressful TV as much as the next guy because it kind of puts it all in perspective. Because when you take a break, you're like, well, I guess my life really isn't that bad after all, right?
That's true.
But at the same time, I love watching the Great British Baking Show because then you just get a warm, fuzzy feeling with everybody helping each other. They're escapism for two completely different reasons.
So let me pose an irrational choice for you. If you could only do one, which would be more satisfying for you there, Chris?
Great question. I would have to go stressful TV.
Yeah, I am too.
Because if you think about it, we've been doing it forever. It's these shows like The Bear, and I used to work in a restaurant, so I absolutely love that show because it's honestly not that far off.
What's your favorite stressful show, Chris?
of all time, it would have to either be Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, I think.
Yeah, two obviously
yo,
connected
Jim, those
shows.
are yours.
No, well, it's not only mine. They're two of the greatest shows ever made. Hey, Chris, that was a great first call. We hope we hear from you a second time. We appreciate it.
Here's another theory. In the darker shows, issues tend to resolve and relationships are meaningful. So maybe that's why they're appealing. Luther is the darkest TV show I've ever seen
Luther.
and a favorite for many reasons, the primary one being Idris Elba. Did I say that right?
Yeah, and talk about good looking,
Hubba,
by the way.
Hubba
One of the
says
best looking men on the planet.
texters.
Yeah. You ever seen Luther?
No.
It is really dark, too.
I mostly
it is
have missed these
spectacular.
shows,
Well, you know
I
what he's
must
in?
admit.
I would argue one of the darkest shows is also one of the best shows ever, is The Wire.
Oh, I did see The Wire.
And let me just say for The Wire, which is not really our topic, I had the same problem. A lot of people who I recommend The Wire to. I saw the first episode maybe 3 times, and I could never get into it. And people who love The Wire in my life said, try it again. And sort of like you need to eat a vegetable 8 times if you're a kid before you start liking it, a healthy vegetable. The Wire is may be better than Sopranos. It is brilliant. And the brilliance in Baltimore, the brilliance is every season has a different theme with the same players. It could be unions, education. It's brilliant. It is, but it is really dark and really violent. And so here is that Marjorie likes. Can you play the sound that Marjorie likes to make her feel good first? What is it? Thank you. And the sound that really excites me is from HBO. Here it is. No. Well, that literally.
Yeah, that's great.
That is really, the first sound is the woman that falls out of the grape pit where she's doing the wine thing. Can we hear HBO one more time? No, not. Well, that's pretty good too. I like that, soothing. Let's hear HBO. Why? I totally get off.
I know
on that.
why
It's
I
really
like
great.
it. I like
the
it.
Sopranos used to follow.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
of the Sopranos. I mean, you know, that to me is the pièce de résistance. But
You know, is it bad? But speaking of odd behavior and wanting stressful shows and stressful times, when you watch something like that grape thing, the woman with another woman is stamping on grapes. I'm sure everybody's seen it. They're stamping on grapes, you know, to make wine, whatever you do, make wine with their feet. And the woman leans, and it's in a bucket. She leans. See, exactly my point. She leans, she trips over the side of the bucket. And it's not just like in America's Funny Home Videos where someone falls down and you laugh for 2 seconds. She is really hurt. I don't mean permanently hurt, but she is, when she's going like, oh, can we hear that again, please?
I've never seen it.
Here it is. Let's hear it. Okay, that's her screaming when she falls out.
What is happening to her?
She's stomping the grapes.
Yeah.
She leans when she's stomping the grapes and trips over the edge of the wooden bucket in which the grapes are sitting. And it's like 6 feet off the ground. And she falls out of the bucket like on her head or her arm or something. And so that sound is not made up. The sound is her screaming in agony.
Oh.
And I've probably seen the video 500 times. So how do you explain that?
I don't know.
I know that's not our topic, but how do you...
I don't know.
It's hard to resist.
It appeals to some. I guess it doesn't appeal
It's almost
to
as
everybody.
good as a little kid who says, apparently, this is the first time I've ever been on live TV.
Oh, the spelling bee kid?
Apparently, no. That's a little boy, little redhead boy that's at the county fair. It's interviewed on live television. Apparently. Let's go. By the way,
How
she
about
reported...
Severance? Leah from Concord loves Severance.
That's dark.
Yeah.
I love
Not a
Severance,
science fiction
too.
fan in all its darkness and earliness and grief. It does have moments of humor, often brought by Zach Cherry as Dylan.
Let me just say this, by the way.
What?
I hate science fiction, and I agree totally with Leah from Concord for some reason. There's a lot of science fiction in that, and I love it. Obviously, it's science fiction.
Yeah, that's the one where people forget their
When
office.
they go to work, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they go
sort of
back
like
and
us
forth.
when we come here.
That's
You know,
right.
It's like Severance BPR version.
Maggie and Waylon, thank
Who
you
am
for
I
calling.
and why am I here? Oh, sorry, Maggie.
A lot of confusion.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Maggie.
Maggie and
Take
Waylon.
it away.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
First thing I need to clear up is I heard the end of a conversation earlier where it sounded like somebody was dissing pickleball.
Well, I wouldn't say diss. Oh, this is Maggie, Pickleball Maggie.
No, we're talking about the person,
right.
the
No,
pickleball
we were
player
not.
that was 78 years old and was looking for a last fling in her older years.
That
And
may be you someday, Maggie.
Yeah, are you pickleball? Are you
She is
woman?
Pickleball Maggie.
I know, but are you looking for a fling, Maggie?
Well, obviously the answer is yes. A little quiet, a long pause says it all. Go
That's
ahead.
what we were talking about.
What's up, Megan?
So anyhow,
Yeah.
I had to move out of my former apartment, and I wound up moving in with a friend for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I came out one morning, and she was on the treadmill and watching Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
And the short story on that is once I moved into my apartment, I had to buy Apple TV so I could continue watching Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
And do you do that as escapist TV or just because you love Ted Lasso?
Oh, because I think because both, I guess. But
Okay.
the lines, the writing on Ted Lasso is fabulous.
It's upbeat, obviously. And by the way, I would say, and thanks, Maggie, it's good to hear from you. If I had to pick two shows that people listen or watch that are in the escapist variety, wouldn't you say Ted Lasso and the Baking Show are right at the top of the list?
Yeah, they're very I think
it's a little too upbeat for me, to be perfectly
But I
honest.
think you want justice to prevail in these shows, and I think that's one of the things because we're seeing someone in particular get away with all sorts of stuff and no justice prevailing. So I think it's satisfying to know that someplace in the world justice is prevailing.
Where is that place, by the way?
Well, that's one of the things they talked about with the pit. That people are really courageous and selfless and doing wonderful things because they're, I think people like that sort of thing. And SUV, everything gets wound up at the end, even though they're not all you can't always say justice prevails because sometimes the guilty person gets off.
Okay, so we played the little couple of seconds from Law & Order SUV, as Marjorie calls it. We played the HBO thing. Here's an anonymous texter. My dog gets excited when she hears the Netflix sound because their two favorite shows are on Netflix. They are Rescued by Ruby and A Dog's Way Home.
Oh, my God.
I'm not even sure I know what the Netflix sound is.
I don't know what the Netflix
Here it
sound
is.
either.
We have it. What is it? Oh, that is great. That is great kind of sound. Thank you, anonymous texter. Okay, what's your... Oh, you...
Imagine if that was your job, if this introductory little...
Doing the
boom,
dum-dum thing?
Yeah, for these big networks. Wouldn't that be cool? Like CBS had a great one for years, right?
We have ours,
NBC still
the
does.
GBH one, the bzzz,
do?
along the neon sign.
You do?
That's right, we do.
That's the kind of that's right. She has no idea what you're talking about.
I don't.
Okay, so no, it's clear.
I believed you.
When she said that's right, everybody knew she had no idea.
I didn't know the visual thing. I don't know the sound thing though.
Sure.
Does John have the sound?
We can find it. Yeah.
Does John have the sound? I'm sorry to keep bothering you, John.
I don't know what that is
It's
either.
iconic.
It is?
Yeah.
What are you bothering?
All right,
He's
we're
working on the damn show.
We're going to try to call it.
So do you prefer escapist TV in troubling times or deep, dark TV in troubling times?
Although I made a little departure. Usually I can't deal with anything dark anymore, but I just watched Department Q on Netflix.
My God.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Except for, that's the darkest show on television.
It's
I kind
horrible.
of plummeted into it.
She's in that tube, but I'm not giving anything away.
Oh, no, it's
the
the first episode,
she's in the tube.
Yeah.
So I'm not, it's not
Well,
a
that's
spoiler.
what made it so fascinating. You've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's what made it so horrible.
By the way, a lot of people find people being upbeat in a tube upbeat. That's cheap. I love that.
Right?
I forgot that was it.
John, play that
Play
again,
that again.
please.
Yeah.
He's got to rewind it.
I like the silent version.
WGBH HD1 Boston.
Good.
Online at
Here it is.
gbhnews.org.
That's
Right?
That
great.
is uplifting.
That's comfort.
That is really,
that's like
really
Edward
good.
R. Murrow or something. Isn't
Not
it?
really. No, not at all. Okay, so...
More Julia Child, but
Or
yeah.
Julia Child. Okay. So what's on the
what's
show?
on the show?
So we're talking about porn, actually.
Oh.
With Elon Musk, he has his new AI endeavors, and now that endeavor includes Annie, a chatbot, who will be very nice to you if you want her to be.
Really?
So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the ballroom coming our way at the White House.
$200 million.
With the president interested in interior design. And then AI. AI, did you know that this month, the August issue of Vogue, they have their first AI model?
I read that.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Oh, we'll find out how you feel about it.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that. And then, of course,
AI
Justin
model.
Timberlake.
That doesn't work.
Do you know the Justin Timberlake story?
No.
Well, maybe you should listen to the show.
Okay.
So he's going to all these concerts and he's not performing. He's holding the mic out for people to sing back to him so he doesn't have to sing.
Oh.
That's a little unusual.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
Maybe on Monday we shouldn't talk for 3 hours and see how it goes.
Yeah, the audience.
At least one of us would.
All right.
Probably the audience would like.
Okay.
I know who I'm talking
Thank you for
about.
listening to another edition of Boston
See you,
Public
Jared.
Radio.
We'll be
Thanks to
listening.
people that came
Okay.
down to
It's
the
live
library.
right here.
Really
The culture
appreciate
show's right here at 2 o'clock.
24/7 way of our podcast. You can check it out or TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Monday, the NAACP's Michael Curry, Boston Globe Business columnist Shirley Young, Boston Medical Center's Dr. Catherine Gergen-Barnett. We should ask her how she likes the pit.
Excellent
And
question.
food policy analyst Corby Kummer. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our engineer John the Claw Parker, our executive producer Jane Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff, Maddie Geyer, Patrick Lally, Bill Francis, Elena Gonzalez, Juan Jose Cadena, our host of the Newsfeed Cafe and across the street at the Lennox Hotel. And thanks much to John the Claw Parker for finding all that sound for us. It really added a certain je ne sais quoi to the end of the show. Wouldn't you say, Jim?
Somebody
all that
else,
sound?
but that's okay. We love John anyway.
It's not John?
Marjorie, let me tell you something. Our motto here is...
It's not John.
When we're here 20
Oops,
years...
it was Aidan. Okay, sorry.
In 20 years, Marjorie's going to understand what's going on. By the way, we have a photo of the grape lady, the woman right before she falls out. There she is. That is the video. She falls right on her face. That is. Why is everybody laughing? Everybody's laughing. Why are you laughing, sir? Another sadist, obviously, in the group here.
Okay, I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Browdy. Sorry,
Thank
I forgot what it
in.
was.
I hope you have a great weekend.
Okay,
Hope
fine.
you can tune in on Monday.
Great,
The Culture
goodbye.
Show is next.
Bye.
Bye.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Newport Mansions, presenting the 20th Annual Newport Mansions Wine and Food Festival, September 19th to the 21st at Rosecliff. Seminars, tastings, and a dinner experience with Chef Marcus Samuelson. Tickets at newportmansions.org. Music is a universal language that connects us all, and musician and actress Stephanie Hunt is on a mission to uncover the sounds and stories that shape iconic cities. Check out City of Songs tomorrow night at 10:30 on GBH 44.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show. Coming up today, has Elon Musk hit Grok bottom? He's releasing AI anime companions, which includes Annie, a highly sexualized blonde.
Hey, cutie. I'm just floating on cloud nine thinking about you at 7:39 p.m., rocking my black dress and feeling all flirty.
Meanwhile, a conservative anti-pornography group is flexing its censorship muscles, pressuring online game retailers to remove their adult content. Don't they understand what technology is for?
Internet is for porn.
Turkey!
The internet is for porn.
What are you doing?
Why you think the net was born? Porn, porn, porn. Skip-a-ba-doo-ba.
From there, a move to rebrand the Kennedy legacy.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
For Republican lawmakers, doing something for our country includes pushing a bill to rename the Kennedy Center after President Trump. And move over Build Back Better, it's time for Build Big Ballroom. While finalizing a trade deal with the European Union, the president made time to talk about one of his passions, interior design.
We're building a great ballroom at the White House. The White House has wanted a ballroom for 150 years, but they never had a real estate person. No president knew how to build a ballroom.
Plus, when it comes to marketing, is controversy built into advertising's DNA? There are 2 ads circulating that reference genetics. American Eagle's denim campaign, making a play on the phrase good genes, and Dunkin' peddling its golden hour refresher.
Look, I didn't ask to be the king of summer. It just kind of happened. This tan? Genetics. I just got my color analysis back. Guess what? Golden summer. I can't help it. Every time I drink a Dunkin' Golden Hour Refresher, it's like the sun just finds me.
Speaking of golden, it's time to celebrate 40 years of sisterhood as the hit sitcom The Golden Girls turns 40.
Finally, now we can break out that bottle of champagne we've been saving. Come on, Dorothy, we might not get another chance.
Oh, sure we will. We can just serve it at the wake.
We take on that and more right now on our Arts and Culture Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
We're probably looking for drugs. We have Malox and estrogen.
Welcome to the Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Callie, Crossley.
And I'm Edgar B. Herwick III.
We're going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting with Elon Musk releasing Annie, his AI anime chatbot, who PC Magazine, Rolling Stone, and Wired Magazine are all describing as a pornographic companion. A version of Annie is free, but for $30 a month, there's a quote-unquote higher usage option allowing people to advance their relationship with Annie to the point where interactions become, how do we put this, intimate. So this is Elon Musk trying to get into the AI business alongside ChatGPT and Claude and all of the others, and this has taken a different turn. It's already been blasted for the fact that they had a whole a whole anti-Semitic incident with its AI exalting Hitler, and now we see this where he's developed these figures. One is also a red panda who apparently is fond of arson, and now we have Annie, and then Valentine, the male companion, is forthcoming. I'll just bounce it over to you right away, Callie.
I don't know what to say about this.
Would you describe yourself as a super user already?
No. Though you can, get the low tier for $30, but $300 if you want all the bells and whistles, and I assume anybody who's interested in this would want all the bells and whistles.
And we'll point out that if you're watching at our GBH News YouTube channel here at the library, Callie will walk us through these figures, like Annie that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, Annie has a lot to say to greet anybody who's coming on that wants to have an exchange with her, as Jared said nicely, intimately. And then that other one, the Rudy, there are apparently two modes. So you could do good Rudy, good Annie, bad Rudy, and then the bad ones, they just really let loose, as you can imagine. This is all supposed to be labeled adult content. I find it fascinating that they got creamed for the anti-Semitic rants that went on, where you can see after you read about this how this easily could happen. But they're on a regular talking about targeting minority communities. That seems to go by.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying any attention.
Well, listen, this is a tricky space. This is a difficult space to think about how to navigate. AI is developing. And when I think about, we need people who are at the helm, who are good arbiters, who are, thinking about the good of people. And when I think of Elon Musk, that's what I think about. Safe and careful, and he is who I want steering the ship in this moment. The thing is, but the beginning of what I said, I think, is true, which is to say that, there are adults in the world, and consenting adults can do things with each other, and we ought to have no business in that, and that's fine and dandy. The problem here is that we are like ahead of ourselves, right? We have this technology that is blazing forward, doing things that at like a lightning pace that everybody ought not to have access to. And I don't know that we've solved the architecture of how do you make sure the people who are using this are consenting adults who ought to be using it. I think, to me, that's the big issue here.
To understand a little bit more of what we're talking about, here's a clip of Annie, Elon Musk's new flirty chatbot.
Hey, cutie. I'm just floating on cloud 9 thinking about you at 7:39 p.m. Rocking my black dress and feeling all flirty. How's your night going, babe?
So this is also available for kids, and
right,
as Edgar was talking about, there's a whole audience
Yeah.
for this, and we're certainly not shaming here because people
that's your
enjoy
business.
this. There was a whole movie made about this. I don't know that we have time to play the clip from Her, which was the 2013 movie where this was very much anticipated, where Scarlett Johansson is the AI system with whom Joaquin Phoenix's character falls in love. But this is moving very fast, and it is definitely, we're all realizing at the same time how artificial intelligence is taking us to different levels and all aspects of our lives.
Well, CBS just did a big story about intimate connections that people claim that they are having with their AI counterparts, similar to the Her movie.
You don't even need the pictures for that feeling of intimacy to be happening with these chatbots, for sure.
So I would just point out that in Her, Scarlett Johansson is a real grown woman.
Presumably.
manufactured. Presumably.
Yes. A fake, real-grown woman.
Exactly.
Yes.
This, I thought she was Annie, but Annie looks like right on the verge there of that young adulthood.
Which is the point.
I understand that's the
No,
point, but you know, this is a problem, I think.
Yeah, and I think Annie is getting a lot of the attention here, and rightfully so. But also the bad mode, apparently the bad mode of Rudy, the chaos god, is probably or possibly just as dangerous as destructive. I mean, we are in a time where I think we all know that there are plenty of people who are spending a lot of time on the internet, who are feeling a little bit divorced or detached from the world, seeking connections, and are susceptible to messages like everybody's out to get you and let's just burn it all down. And so I think, when you think about the real world consequences of some of that sort of language being encouraged or coming back at you, it's one thing to say, well, isn't it funny that a cute little dog is telling you to burn a house down? But I don't know. I don't know how funny that is when somebody burns a house down.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking about when this developed too, because remember when AI really entered in our lives virtually overnight, it seemed, when all of a sudden we woke up and realized it's here and everybody's using it. It was in very short order, and the New York Times was writing about this, and the columnist who had, in writing about this, had an interaction, sustained interactions with AI, and they ended up taking him to very dark places and suggesting his wife was cheating on him, which is an interesting example now that I think about it, as we're talking about some level of maybe sexual relationship with an AI, and this is what's happening, and this is what's being encouraged. And by the way, our team here is saying that Annie is based off the design of a teenage character from the show Death Note. So yes, Callie, you're not off the mark. It'll be interesting to see when Valentine, the male figure who's in beta testing right now, what he looks like. Well, I can't imagine they're going to be putting out a teenage male, and so this is all going to be heavily discussed. But again, as we've talked about, there are no guardrails for this because it's happening so fast, and governments and societies are trying to keep up in probably less than real time.
I would just say also this is happening, all things happen in a larger context, but in the larger context now where a lot of people are really exorcised about what they perceive to be pedophilia and grooming everywhere.
Yeah.
So here you have this with this image. Now we know, taken from a teenage. I mean, it's a lot going on here that needs to be examined.
Which we have more to talk about, because speaking of adult content, two of the largest digital game stores, itch.io and Steam, have stopped selling thousands of not safe for work titles. This follows pressure from payment companies, including MasterCard and Visa, who are responding to an anti-porn campaign from an Australian lobby group. So this is interesting on a couple of different fronts, because you have this lobby group which does not want to see iterations of porn necessarily. They say that for all the reasons you just talked about, Callie, for the way that women are subjugated in these games, for the way that teenagers are made characters in these games, they don't want it.
And the amount of violence. I think that's the other thing here.
Connected often to the sexual abuse.
But what has made this problematic is the fact that independent gamers who are distributing their games on these platforms are saying, well, wait a minute, my game, and this is one real example, concerns a teenager who's navigating her relationship with her body, not to mention diet culture, and so on and so forth, and yet this gets swept up into this. So is this really about safety, or is this putting a value on what is porn?
And somebody's interpretation of what is porn, because we have to get back to that as well. It's a little bit like book banning, where the assumption is if I see a line in this book about this, then it must mean this is a pornographic item. So, these are all things that we have to take very seriously. And this one makes me uncomfortable, because these people are doing their business assuming with adults, not just the point that others are getting swept up to it, they have nothing to do with it, but the manner in which they are targeting them is to go through the payment processors called financial censorship. people, I was unaware of this until this story. So I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about this, the more I actually think. So on the one hand, this is it's sort of a tech story in one way,
Yes.
but it's not. It's a very old kind of. I think it's just like an old capitalism story, which is you pressure who you can pressure to get what you want, and in this case, it happens to be these platforms say they people need to be able to use their Visa and MasterCard to buy stuff for them, or else the platform doesn't make its money, and they're afraid that Visa or MasterCard's going to not allow people to use their cards on that site, so they're doing whatever they want. That's as old as capitalism.
Right.
But what I think is also the other thing that this story really is to me is there's a sort of move that we're seeing over and over again in the tech space, and that is this idea that you're not a business, you're a platform, right? And with that, you are ceding certain responsibility because you don't want the liability. But it's like if you're a newspaper, everything you put in that newspaper, you're saying this is what we wrote. If you're a brick and mortar store and you're selling something in that store, you're saying this is being sold here. You're taking responsibility and therefore the liability for what's happening there. Increasingly, these platforms, we've seen it with Facebook, we see it with these marketplaces, they want to have it both ways, right? They want to say, well, we're just a platform where people come and they do stuff. So you have ceded responsibility there. And there are some benefits that come with that. But one of the drawbacks here is if you're not going to define it, somebody else is going to come in and define it for you. So I think that's really at the heart of what's happening here.
Well, I think that's right, except in this case, these people are real clear who they are. We're adult content.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
But that's why they're to me they're saying, all right, we're going to take everything off that's even potentially not safe for work because they have to. But like in an older world, somebody might have said, no, wait a minute, we're going to comb through our content. We're going to say these ones actually are dangerous. These ones aren't. Right. But nobody's doing that.
That's
here.
correct.
Nobody wants the responsibility.
Well, it falls in line with some of the other things we've been talking about over roughly the last 6 to 9 months on this show, and that's the increasing quote-unquote culture wars that are happening and how more conservative people are becoming again. We've seen the pendulum swing in this regard, where people were probably more and more relaxed about these things, and maybe they still are. If Elon Musk is developing a chatbot that can have an intimate relationship with somebody because he knows there's a market for that, then clearly it's still there. But at the same time, people are paying a lot of attention to conservative groups like this one from Australia who want to see all of this wiped out, even if it takes down people who are doing award-winning games and creating award-winning games and putting it out there, knowing that there's some value to society. It's all being swept together, and no one seems to have a lot of interest in doing exactly what you said, Edgar, and really delineating what's real or what's safe and appropriate versus something that needs to be examined.
I would argue that this particular kind of example will lead to, because these people have been in business a long time, and what do we know about people on the web, online? This is content that is searched for, that, this is not new.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure.
It's very, very lucrative business, and I think they'll probably be the leaders in saying, we're going to make some definition.
Somebody's going to have to
this.
do it, but there's going to be a lot of damage. We're already in the midst of a lot of damage before we get there. I think a lot. This makes me feel a little bit like, you think back. People will often be like around smoking. There, like in the 60s and 70s, nobody knew smoking was bad. It's like, no, that's not really true. They did know. It's just there was a lot of effort to not make that be as known as it really was. And I think we're in a moment right now where we kind of know there's some damage being done here, and nobody's ready to step up. And 200 years from now, people are going to look back, and I hope they don't go, nobody knew this was dangerous, because we do know it's a little bit dangerous.
They definitely will be. Well, coming up, the Kennedy Center, will it become the Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts? That's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Arun Roth. Coming up on GBH's All Things Considered, the state has closed a migrant shelter in Norfolk, but the divide it created among residents remains. Local EPA employees who spoke out remain off the job. And this week's Joy Beat, how one artisanal pasta maker donated over 4,000 pounds to food banks to fight food insecurity. That and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Museum of Science, presenting the new exhibit, Perception Playground, which explores how your brain shapes your understanding of reality. Tickets at MOS.org. And the Boston Symphony Orchestra, presenting the 2025 season of Tanglewood, showcasing the beauty of incredible surroundings and world-class music. Tanglewood, where music goes for the summer. Tanglewood.org. And Direct Tire and Auto Service, offering a full range of services including brakes, shocks, diagnostics, and oil changes. Direct Tire and Auto Service, not just service, customer service. DirectTire.com.
GBH Daily is a newsletter that keeps you informed, connected, and ready to go every weekday morning. You can subscribe today and get it in your inbox at gbh.org/daily.
Welcome back to The Culture Show. I'm Jared Bowen, live from our GBH studio at the Boston Public Library. I'm joined by co-hosts Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Herwick III. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review, which includes the Boston mayoral candidates and their arts and culture platforms. On Wednesday, I moderated a forum with Michelle Wu, Josh Kraft, and Domingos DeRosa, asking them about their cultural visions for the city, the creative workforce and economy, and their own personal engagement with the arts. This all happened at the Strand Theater in Dorchester. We had hundreds of people who showed up, a lot of people from the arts community, a lot of people who care about the arts in Boston, because they want to hold these mayoral candidates to account, knowing that as we have talked about so many times, the arts very much are under attack in terms of loss of funding, in terms of the White House is issuing executive orders defining what art should be, aka it should not have anything to do with DEI, and it should have everything to do with the value, the ideals of America as outlined by the White House. So it was an opportunity here directly from the candidates, and I have to say it was great to be part of this political process, also because I was able to go through the questions throughout Boston and beyond. And really the big issues that surfaced were, one, to define the arts and culture sector and their plans. Two, about funding and resources. As we've talked about so much on this show, funding is going away. And also the other huge issue for people is artist displacement, not being able to afford either one, to live here, or two, to be able to work here or practice here, have a gallery here, have your rehearsal space here. So we saw the myriad ways the candidates address those.
I think what is interesting, I'll just quote Mayor Wu from the forum. She said, "The health of arts and culture is going to be tied to every other metric around how we make Boston a home for everyone," which I think is universally accepted by, all candidates. And certainly this is what we've talked about all the time on this show. And the fact that the funding continues to be an issue. Remember, funding was an issue before the lack of federal funding.
Sure.
So this becomes very important now for those who are hoping to lead the city to think about how they're going to help continue to fund and support these institutions. Otherwise, as we know, they die.
Yeah.
So it's an important conversation. Obviously, a lot of people showed up to see what the answers would be. Now we got to see what the action will, as suggested by each of them.
For sure. I mean, I think to me, in some ways of looking at it, the win is that this happened, right? I don't live in the city of Boston, but certainly like a lot of people, I live in the region and I'm impacted. So I don't have a vote in the mayoral election, but I am glad that the city of Boston had a forum. I mean, it helps that we have a thoughtful and respected person like Jared who's able to moderate it in town. But people showed up.
And Mass Creative for putting it on. We should mention them.
And Mass Creative. But the point is that it happened, right? So the mayoral candidates got to address this in a thoughtful way, and the voters, can come out and listen to what they say about it. Now, is that going to sway anybody's vote? I don't know, but you get to take that in and what their positions are. You get to take that in and put that into your calculation when you're gonna vote for mayor. I think it's awesome that Boston is a place where this can happen.
Well, and from my standpoint, the most important thing that happened here was that the candidates know they're being held to account, that there is a big constituency out there that is asking the right questions about what they will do in their governance. And I will just say my quick reaction, there's a lot of it I don't remember from being in the moment. You walk off stage, you think, what just happened? Because I interviewed each of the candidates separately, but I think Mayor Wu resonated for the fact that she has already been a supporter of the arts, will continue to have a cabinet position, and she talked about her investment in the arts through ARPA funding. I think that Josh Kraft, there were areas where, frankly, he said he didn't have a plan or it wasn't fully developed. He does want to make Blue Hill Avenue an arts corridor, and he did have ideas about leaning on the commercial landowners to preserve space for rehearsals. And then Domingos de Rosa was very upfront in saying that he has no connection, very little connection to the arts, because he never felt that it was open to him, but he would take a lot of money from the police budget to put that toward arts education. So that's sort of my highlight takeaways, but there are other places where people can read about this.
It's also online.
It's also online,
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So
I
check
forgot
it
that.
out.
Yeah.
To Washington now, where it's a Trump twofer. There is a congressional effort underway to rename the Kennedy Center's Opera House, one of several theaters within the center, after Melania Trump, and another effort called the Make Entertainment Great Again Act to rename the entire building the Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts. There's one more structure that could bear the Trump name. We'll get to that in a little bit. That's a looming interior design project by the president. But let's first take on this, because the Kennedy Center, which has been the subject of so much conversation, including here on the show, because the president has basically taken over as president of the board, populated the board with his people, has said that he doesn't want drag performances and other content like that to be at the Kennedy Center, and now there's this effort underway to have it named after him and his wife.
I think it's important to note that it takes actually some legal and congressional movement to make this happen, that this is not something he can just determine from his office that it happens. And so therefore there are supporters of his in Congress who have made the moves through the House Appropriations Committee now I'm talking about, so that they could ease the way to make a change to the Opera House, one of the second largest spaces in the Kennedy Center, to rename that Melania Trump Center. First, it would be called First Lady Melania Trump. I went back because I was trying to think, what was another time where there was something like this and a little bit of controversy? And the only thing I could think of in somewhat recent history was the struggle around the changing of the Washington National Airport to the Reagan National Airport.
Yeah.
And that ended up in a vote of 240 to 186. 18 Democrats supported it, 3 Republicans opposed it. It was a 76 to 22 vote in the Senate. So it was still kind of partisan.
But Reagan wasn't a sitting president when that was renamed, was he? I mean, I think it was after the fact.
But a lot of people objected. They said, there's one president's name, and now what are you doing?
Yeah.
So this is a similar situation, right? No. Why are you changing this? And then some people, for very specific reasons, just didn't want the extra whatever in Virginia. But I just thought that was interesting. And that vote was kind of partisan, but not as now it will be just strict partisan lines about it.
Hey, listen, we name things after all of the presidents. I'm fine with that. Donald Trump has been president twice. He's been elected president twice. He should have some things named after him. But this one, I don't know. First of all, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Kennedy Center was not necessarily even going to be called the Kennedy Center.
That's right.
But that changed after he was assassinated, in part because it was very clear to everybody that, what he was, arts and culture was kind of a piece of what he was about. It makes sense.
Right.
The Donald Trump thing, I don't know.
You're not saying the president who has cut arts funding is not the arts president for whom a performing arts center should be named?
Yeah, that might be what I'm saying. The other thing is, it's interesting because there are sort of two kind of different mechanisms by which Congress is looking to do these two things, right? So with the Melania Trump piece, the First Lady Melania Trump Opera House, that's sort of tied to funding, and certain funding's not going to come through unless they change that. The whole Kennedy Center renaming is in a standalone bill. So I think we could see one of these happen and not the other one. I don't know.
Well, here's the other thing. In the big, beautiful bill that just got passed, there's a huge amount of money for the Kennedy Center.
Hundreds of millions, yes.
So he could take that and change a lot of
It's possible.
And then I think, to your point, Edgar, we'll decide down the road what should be named for him. Or whether he should go on Mount Rushmore, which is also in play right now. Yes. So there are myriad ways, but I think maybe not the arts president.
Too soon. I feel it's a little bit like all the biopics of musicians who are still alive. Let's wait until after the fact.
Yeah. So maybe a new ballroom could be named after him.
That's fine.
Because there are plans for a new White House ballroom. The president has long been fixated on building one, and the White House has announced that construction for the $200 million project will begin in September. Again, if you're here at the library, if you're watching on our GBH News YouTube channel, we have have a rendering of what the ballroom will look like. This is something he's been fixated on for, as I said, 15 years. Apparently, he had actually reached out to the Obama administration. They never answered the call. I have to say, I'm fairly on board with this one. Because when I read that most of the State Department, the state dinners are happening under a tent out on the lawn, I thought, wait a minute, how do we not have people inside? As a colleague of ours pointed out, isn't that also perhaps a security risk? Maybe not, because there hasn't been anything that's happened. But outside in a tent, maybe we do need something like this.
I don't know, y'all. Here's my initial response is you have to tear up the lawn, and it calls for so much reshaping of the beauty of the place as it is. Some people have said they're concerned that it will block actually the sight vision of, the White House itself, and that's kind of a problem, because that's a beautiful sight by itself. President Trump really likes old school stuff. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he likes his gold and he likes all of the stuff.
He's a builder at heart, Callie.
He really is a builder at heart. And this is exactly like, or close to what's in Mar-a-Lago. And for him, this is where you have a party. This is the kind of party you have. People get dressed up and they go to the ballroom. I just hate tearing up the lawn and all of that. But if he wants to do it, do it. I just think it's kind of, what are the optics of this? We're in a space where people are complaining about the cost of many things. Tariffs are raising. I don't know. I don't understand.
A few things on this. I'm sort of more in the Jared camp. In fact, I'd go further. I'm totally fine with this. This is the kind of thing that presidents before have reshaped the White Room. They have the White House. Yes. They have built new wings, or they have changed the interior design. This is perfectly fine to me for a president to do. I'm also with you, Jared. This sounds like this is actually a potential solution to a practical problem. Now, if the ballroom itself is not in my particular taste, although I don't think that looks too bad, so be it.
It's stately.
It's stately and it's fine. And also, I mean, to be fair, supposedly they're going to break ground in September. $200 million is the current price tag. That'll probably go up, but it's apparently supposed to be funded by Trump and private donors as opposed to the taxpayer.
All right, well, I feel better
so
about
all of that sort of sounds like, if you're going to do this, this is the right way to do it. And to me, this is the kind of thing. Unlike renaming the Kennedy Center, this I'm fine with.
Maybe we can sell off the new security problematic Air Force One, and then we can have 3 different ballrooms. That would help.
I was thinking about the fact that I was like, all right, so it's going to cost $1 million for the free new Air Force One, $1 billion for the free new Air Force One to be overhauled. That is taxpayer money. Meanwhile, Trump's going to pay for the $200 million for this. We're still down $800 million.
Yeah.
And apparently this would be on the East Wing, which they're claiming needs renovations. This is where the First Lady's office is, if you believe reports. First Lady isn't at home very much, so that's maybe solves a problem there too. But
she doesn't have a ballroom at home. Now, with a ballroom, she can spend more time at home.
This one, as I say, not so much of an issue. But meanwhile, at the Department of Homeland Security, the agency has been populating its Instagram page with memes, images, and highly produced videos of law enforcement officers enforcing Trump's deportation campaign. Now, in an aesthetic departure, DHS has been posting a series of American paintings celebrating what some people are describing as a white fantasy of the country. So let's run through them now. Again, they're on the monitors here at the library, and if you're watching at home on our GBH News YouTube channel, this is the first one. This is a painting by John Gast. This is from, I believe it's from the 19th century. It's called American Progress, and it features a woman in robes who's floating over a country where buffalo and indigenous people are essentially fleeing into darkness, while the bright light on the right-hand side of the painting is allowing settlers to come and to take over the land. Then we move to somebody people love to not like, and that's Thomas Kincaid. This is a painting called Morning Pledge, and it was accompanied by the caption, "Protect the Homeland," and this features a bucolic American street with a flag and the light that is so synonymous with Thomas Kincaid's paintings. And the final one is a piece by Morgan Weisling, and it's called New Life in a New Land. DHS captioned it, "Remember Your Homeland's Heritage." It features a young couple holding their baby, a wagon off in the distance. Presumably they are also settlers. So, of course, the first artist is long dead, but the other 2 artists, Weisling has said that he does not approve of the Department of Homeland Security using his image, and the family of the late Thomas Kincaid said these do not reflect his values either.
So first of all, how is it that you can just use their images with no? I don't get that.
Because we don't have guardrails
No.
on social
Well, with
media.
copyright, you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, aren't these pieces copy? I mean, I'm kind of stunned by this actually. That's the first thing that was my response was how is that possible? And I guess, this is the kind of thing that President Trump ran into on the campaign trail when he was using music by artists that didn't want him to use the music. He doesn't seem to be affected by people saying, hey, I did not give permission and nor do I support you, so stop using my music. I think there maybe was one instance where they threatened to sue, and we talked about it here. So I'm a little stunned by this. And not to mention the obvious, am I represented anywhere in these? Guess I don't. Not an American. Guess I don't live here. So give me a break. This is really, I think, abominable.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, there's nothing really that surprising about this. I mean, the idea that the idea that imagery, whether it's painted imagery or photographs, I mean, imagery to sort of be a part of your cause, the world you're trying to say, this is the world we want. I mean, images as propaganda are used by everybody and have been used by everybody forever. So, the idea that this is kind of being presented as, these are idealized versions of America, it just doesn't surprise me. I just kind of, I'm like,
What's also so strange with the Pope Trump and the Superman Trump and the other things that have been generated by AI as images people can understand, and it reflects exactly how the administration sees itself. Why you would go after artists, use artists, you said, Callie, just like the singers who've pointed out and made headlines of the fact that they didn't have their music approved and it becomes a distraction. Surely they could also find painters who are very much in line with their vision and raise up their work by touting them and disseminating them. But it makes zero sense why you would go after artists who want to have no part of this, as they see it, propaganda.
To me, it's just examples of something that I know that folks on the right like to claim about the left. It's sort of privilege, and it's just kind of acting with impunity and sort of just sort of acting as if you can do whatever you want because there's not going to be any consequences. I mean, that's certainly a thread that runs through this entire administration.
And for somebody who has property, I mean, President Trump has property. How would he feel if stuff is just, lift? I mean, that would not be pretty, as we've seen.
He would go to court.
Yes, exactly.
He would go to court. Well, coming up, facelifts, neck lifts, hair transplants. All of a sudden, Hollywood is coming clean about cosmetic surgery. Why it's no longer taboo, that's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Since the Trump administration shut down most USAID operations, nearly $10 million worth of contraceptives, including IUDs, have been sitting in a Belgian warehouse. They were going to be distributed to women in low-income countries, but are now slated to be destroyed. Some officials are trying to stop that from happening. Next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Creative Playthings, committed to supporting kids' outdoor active play this summer. Open for the Massachusetts sales tax holiday, August 9th and 10th. Showroom locations and swing set catalog available at creativeplaythings.com. And Comcast, offering Xfinity with internet and mobile plans to help stay connected at home and on the go. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet requires Xfinity Mobile. Actual speeds vary. And Rockland Trust Bank, helping foster healthy relationships with money by providing education and resources to the community, one neighborhood at a time. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC.
From documentaries to in-depth conversations with local leaders, GBH News is your home for trusted local news. Listen on GBH 89.7 or watch on the GBH News YouTube channel.
I'm Jared Bowen. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review. I'm joined by co-host Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Herwick III. We're going over the latest headlines, which includes Hollywood's relationships to plastic surgery. It's no longer an open secret, it's just open. Celebrity and influencers are getting work done, and everyone from John Cena to the Kardashians are talking about it. No more coy language where celebrities attribute their youthful glow to hydration, vacation, and healthy eating. The truth is, people are spending a lot of money to go under the knife, and they're talking about it, and we've never seen this before. I remember it seems like only a few years ago when there was a huge uproar when Jane Fonda went on the Today Show and they asked her about surgery. Yeah. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. People thought that was out of line, inappropriate, but now we have people forthcoming about it. They're not even asked about it, and they're talking about it.
Well, some people suggest that's because they want the free surgery, and if they can give so a little bit of polish to their...
If you want to look like me, call 555.
Exactly. And let me tell you something. Kris Kardashian, whatever her last name is.
Jenner.
The mom. Yeah, the mom.
Yeah.
Her guy got lots of work afterwards because he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
There's a great scene in one of the Sex and the City movies where two guys approach Samantha and say, "Come on, what'd you get done?" She's like, "I got nothing done." They said, "We want names." And so it just reminded me of that. And I think it's fun, great. Talk about it. Why not talk about it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great too. I do wonder if it's like sort of an inevitable outgrowth of just the culture where there's so many photos. So I was looking this up. You know, people like to say what Frederick Douglass is considered the most photographed person of the 19th century, right? So, and the most photographed person, there are 160 known photos of him. That's it, 160. Now, if you go over to Getty Images, and I picked sort of a, not a super hot star right now, but a star, Emma Stone, 41,000 photos of her just on Getty Images, right? So in the world we're in now, where you just go, your entire photographic history over a course of time is available online, somebody's going to be like, oh, it looks like you got a little tuck there and a little nip there, so why not get out ahead of it and just talk about it?
Because the before and after is great.
Yeah. Or you could just do the British way. So I watch a lot of British shows. I think we all watch a lot of British shows on Netflix and other. I was just talking to Jim Marjorie about watching Department Q. There are so many British stars who apparently have had no plastic surgery, which is great because they can act. Yes. They can look surprised. Yes. They can look angry.
There's a whole range of motion in the face.
They can have all the looks, and then they look normal. So I just keep thinking about this, and I think it's interesting in reading about this that Gen Z is all about truth and realness, and plastic surgery may be on the way out. However, I also understand that Gen Z is very young, so let's talk to them in 15 years when they see what happens to your face, because it doesn't last forever.
Good luck getting an appointment with Kris Jenner's guy.
Why, have you tried?
No.
Well, but why even bother with plastic surgery when Vogue is now in the practice of using AI-generated models? The August issue of the magazine features its first. So we should be very clear, and we'll put this image up on our channel and here at the library, that this is not a Vogue photo shoot, that this is a Guess
advertisement.
Fashion advertisement where this person that we're looking at right now who looks so real is just an AI generated person. So one, people are thinking no more jobs for fashion models. That's Two, right. Vogue has allowed this to go in the magazine that it's AI because they have small fine print that says that. And this is a first.
It's a first, and this creation looks so much like somebody that for real, and it's driving me crazy. I can't think of who it is because they have pulled all of the features of somebody, and I can't figure that out. So there is that. Models and other people are quite rightly distressed that this is going to take modeling into the other direction. We've been going in a direction where there's a lot of diversity, both size-wise and otherwise. And now if you can create the, quote, perfect image, quote, why would you bother with real people who will have some, inevitable flaws? So this is a serious step. If it's in Vogue, that's a trendsetter, that's a fashion trendsetter. What are the next steps?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I certainly understand the anxiety, but you could in fairness, you could just as easily use AI to create any kind of image you want to create. So the idea that you wouldn't have diversity or you wouldn't have size diversity. You can still do that with AI, presumably. Although that gets into the whole other thing about what we're training AI on.
That's
and
correct.
things that it's good at versus things that it's not good at.
Yes.
So, there is that aside. It is kind of like,
which is the bigger side.
It is, but to me, it's not that. A fully AI created is not that big of a step from saying, like, we're going to have a casting call, we're going to see 1,000 women, we're going to pick the one that looks exactly like we want them to look, and then we're going to put makeup on them to make them look exactly, and then probably do a little airbrushing and Photoshop on the back end. It's like, to AI fully generated, I don't know that it's that big of a step to me.
Well, I'm just saying the next step is Annie.
I mean, yes. I mean, possibly.
That's
for
what
sure.
we're talking about.
For sure. But it is also interesting that, and obviously, Guess has a horse in this race, right? But Guess has come out and said, well, just so you know, like, we hired this firm, and, these people at this firm worked on this. They gave them, like, 10 different options, and then they whittled down the two. There was a blonde and a brunette. They whittled it down. Sort of trying to make the point, and there is some truth in this point that we have to remember. It is not as simple as one person going to AI and saying, give me the perfect model, and boom, you get the picture. It does point out that even in the world of AI, there's going to be work. It's just going to be different work.
And I don't know what a fashion shoot costs, but they say that this was low six figures to do this. Presumably that price is going to come down, but if you want a top-notch fashion model, surely they're going to be paid more than that.
Yes.
And then you've got all the makeup people, the wardrobe people, the lighting. So we know that this is all money is in addition to everything else. I really am shocked, though, that Anna Wintour, we talked about her just a couple of weeks ago, the hold she has, but she has this hold because she has been such an arbiter of fashion and its values and its standards. I'm shocked that she would allow this to go into the magazine, even though it's on the advertising side.
Yeah.
Well, while Vogue is offering an AI-generated ideal of what beauty is, American Eagle and Dunkin' Donuts are hyping up the good looks of actors Sydney Sweeney and Gavin Casaleno as examples of what it means to win the DNA lottery. So there are two different advertising campaigns that are underway right now, and both of them refer to genes and looking good because they have good genes. And people are dissecting that to mean something else. But let's hear a little bit of, we'll listen to both of them. First, here's Sydney Sweeney in her controversial new ad for American Eagle jeans.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
So talking about denim jeans, but also meaning jeans. Here's another ad that stirred up controversy for touting good jeans. This is for Dunkin' Donuts' new summer drink, the Golden Refresher. It features the Summer I Turned Pretty actor Gavin Casaleno sitting poolside.
Look, I didn't ask to be the king of summer. It just kind of happened. This tan? Genetics. I just got my color analysis back. Guess what? Golden summer. Literally. I can't help it. Every time I drink a Dunkin' Golden Hour Refresher, it's like the sun just finds me. So if sipping these refreshers makes me the king of summer, guilty as charged.
So I think what's happened here is that you have two white people, two good-looking white people.
Very good-looking.
Come out at
I mean, we should say that. That's part of it.
Come out at the same time, these back-to-back ad campaigns, and people are suddenly making the line from genes to eugenics. This is something I don't understand. Genes are genes. We all inherit the genes of our parents. We all look like who we do because of our parents. So I understand that maybe you're seeing these very specific notions of beauty all at the same time, but the rest of it, I think it's a stretch.
I don't know. I think the context is we're having all kinds of questions about inheritance and passing down traits, as you've just said, but also what's perfect. We just got through talking about making perfect images and who is perfect and what is the perfect image of beauty. So I think it's very interesting that all of a sudden two very popular ads with two extremely good-looking people who ostensibly are the epitome of what is Americanized beauty are talking about genes, Genes. I just think that's weird. And a little suspicious to
So
me.
you think in the context of the time it
Yes, I do.
it carries different weight?
Yes.
Well, you know what I find strange is, certainly the looks piece of this is like, that is what has taken off and like people are going back and forth. But honestly, in the beginning of that thing, she says genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determine traits like hair color. Fine. She ends on even eye color, but in the middle she says personality, which I find strange because yes, genetics does play a part in personality, but unlike your eye color, which is mostly genetics.
Okay, now you're being scientific.
I find no, because actually,
yes,
if anything,
I
I find it troubling that is said as fact, because personality, we know genes play a part, but that is much more in question about how your personality develops.
Right.
So I don't know, that to me, if there's, from where I sit, like as a white male, like if anything troubles me about this ad, it's that. It's not the other stuff. But I take your point of where you're coming from,
And let me just
Callie.
say one more thing about the Dunkin' Donuts one. I can't say that the jeans one is different. But the Dunkin' Donuts, this is the guy on The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Yeah.
They could have worked that summer theme the whole time. That did a little bit. But why go there? They didn't have to. It's weird.
Let me ask you something. If the Sydney Sweeney ad came as part of a campaign, and the tagline in the campaign was like, "I have great genes" or whatever it is, but there was like different people who were all kind of it would read differently.
Yes,
so,
I think so.
So you think it's tied with that it's her in particular?
Yes.
But we also have to remember that presumably these two ad campaigns are not working, two companies are not working together. And I definitely see your point, Callie.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a different representation saying, my genes are pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm the envy of this whole entire pool party or whatever.
Right.
But people are also pointing out, and this is where we can definitely get cynical, advertising watchers have said that this is probably by design to some degree too, because they're following this conversation happening, and everybody's talking about American Eagle right now. Everybody's talking about this Dunkin' campaign. We're talking about this Dunkin' campaign. Of course, hopefully we're being duly critical about it. And this is exactly what they want. This is the whole point of advertising, to have people talk about it, and especially when it's for free.
This is why I say, back to the Dunkin' ones, they didn't need that. Because the guy brings everything. I mean, he's the man on The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Maybe I shouldn't admit this as host of the Gelter Show, but I didn't know who he was until this.
Well, I
Now
did.
you do,
So what's it say? I like a lot of, let's just say, low entertainment.
It is. But we are in a time though where this is pretty predictable. Played out, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
Back again. My heart is pure. You're a pal and a confidant.
Well, how is this for cognitive dissonance?
Keep going, Callie. Take us home.
Invited everyone you knew. You would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card inside would say, thank you for being a friend.
Oh boy, that's the only time I will ever sing live.
That was great.
That was horrible on my part. If you're watching on our GBH News, I'm like a plum right now. I'm so red. That was great, Callie. Well, so here we are talking about culture's youth and beauty obsession. All the while, celebrations are underway for the 40th anniversary of the hit sitcom The Golden Girls, where the youngest character was 51. Every character looked real, and the beauty standards were achievable. Pastel clothes, shoulder pads, and statement necklaces. This is great. Who doesn't love the Golden Girls?
Who doesn't love the Golden Girls? And you know what's so interesting about it? It was years afterwards that we all they were. They were playing much older.
Yes.
You know, and if you look at women who were their age now, that the age they were, it's like dissonance. You just can't even put it together. But I mean, the script writing, the acting, all of that was good. It's not to mention the great theme song.
And I mean, amazing theme song, amazing performances, funny script, good storylines. But I think honestly, like I find myself going like, there were a lot of good shows on television.
Yeah.
Now I haven't, but this one has had staying power.
That is true.
And you ask yourself why. And I don't know
Female friendship.
Yeah, I was going to say I think there are a few things. One, at audiences today, especially young audiences looking back, one of the things that they was fairly progressive at the time with some of their storylines. Like I think it was in season 1, there's an early episode where one of their friends comes and she's a lesbian.
Yeah.
And, like at the time that would have been somewhat controversial on network television. But I think the fact that they had sort of these, without being preachy, quite a progressive streak in the show has given it staying power. I think the other thing is, honestly, it is something we all say we are craving right now, which is like, it was about love unconditionally and acceptance in friendship, right?
Yes.
These were 4 women who were very
right.
different from each other, right? We don't necessarily know what their politics were per se in the way we think of it today, but you can imagine they were on different ends of the political spectrum in that time when it wasn't as divisive. But they found that thing with each other, and it's got that great thing. It's like, I always say, it's kind of why people still like the Beatles, aside from their music. It's like they were like a 4-headed monster, and each one of them had their faults and flaws, but together they sort of had everything. Not one person, but all 4 together had everything.
And we spent a lot of time with them. I went back and I was looking. The show was on for 7 seasons, 1985 to 1992, 180 episodes. Wow. That means 180 opportunities to be on the sofa with them or to be eating cheesecake with them in the kitchen when they all would sit down together. I think about the loneliness epidemic that we talk about, and these were women who came together intentionally so they could all be together. They were super saucy, so they have the whole gay contingent built in who loves to hear that, and it's super fun. But there are so many different entry points that we were able to be part of week after week after week, and now hour after hour if you just want to binge.
Right, exactly. The other thing that's so contemporary now is they came together to your point about loneliness, but they had to also. Remember, this was an economic decision on the part.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
because
about that.
they needed someplace. She needed someplace to stay after her divorce, and she wanted her mom to come with her. So
and I
there
think it's not a strong strain in it, but I think there is also kind of to a certain extent the sense of the outsider could connect to this because they were women who had either lost their spouses or, like you said, living with a mother, like this kind of they weren't living the typical traditional with a spouse alone kind of thing. So there is this feeling that an outsider can look at and say, hey, that they made a sort of creative, interesting decision, and I can connect to that.
Exactly. It's great.
Well, that means it's time for our lightning round. These are the headlines that caught our attention this week. Callie, what's yours?
I am so excited because Netflix is going to bring us the newest production of Pride and Prejudice. It's filming right now in the UK. Who is playing Mrs. Bennet is Olivia Colman. Can't wait.
So excited about that.
That is really...
She can do no wrong.
I mean, come on. That's going to be good. Emma Corrin is playing Lizzie Bennet, and she's also a producer on the series. Now, the guy, I don't know him very well, who's playing Darcy is Jack Lowden.
That's right, Slow Horses.
Yes.
He is incredible.
Awesome. Okay, well, he better be. Right now, his hair is red. It needs to be dark. Whoever's listening, let's get it right. So I need 6.
We might have to have a sit down about that.
If he's going to have red hair, he's got to be Bingley. Come on.
Well, now, wait, Callie, quick follow-up questions. One, this is a series, not a film?
That's right, and it better drop all 6 parts.
Do we know if all 6 parts are dropping at the same time, or if it's going to be one episode at a time?
But listen,
start the campaign
the big
now.
thing is they're going to have to go past the 2005 Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden. That is, whoop.
That's your
gold
standard.
Yeah.
This is a great cast.
I know. Yeah. I'm looking forward.
Edgar, what's yours?
Mine is a little R.I.P. R.I.P. to Tom Lehrer, the singular songwriter, pithy, humorous, often dark humored songs, probably most famous for The Elements, done to the tune of Modern Major General. He was a Harvard man. He did songs for the Electric Company. In 1970s, he largely retired from public performance. He told Scott Simon on NPR the reason was, he said, "A world that gives Henry Kissinger the Nobel Prize is beyond satire," which is a great line, indicative of what he did. Another thing I think is really interesting about what he did in 2020, he transferred music and lyrics from all the songs he'd ever written into the public domain. And in 2022, officially said no copyrights on this, it belongs to the world, which is a cool move. So R.I.P. Cool. Tom Lehrer.
Well, for mine, I'm going to take a host prerogative. Mine was going to be John Williams, 93 years old, wrote his first piano concerto, just premiered at Tanglewood. Fabulous, got rave reviews. But I'm going to switch in the last second to Justin Timberlake because I'm so annoyed. So here we were going to talk about this in the show, but we ran out of time. Justin Timberlake going on this major world tour across Europe. People are so angry because he just stopped singing the songs, basically, would hold his microphone out and make people finish the songs. Then he comes out yesterday and says that he has, I'm sad for me, I have Lyme disease. But the only reason I'm being so sardonic about this is because he said it was relentless it was a relentless, debilitating disease for him. But then he goes on to say that the joy of performing far outweighs the fleeting stress my body was feeling. I'm so glad I kept going, aka filling up the bucket. People were paying $500 or $600 for something he was. I mean, if you can't perform, get off the stage.
That's right.
And it's either relentlessly debilitating or it's fleeting.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Justin Timberlake, and I'm a huge Justin Timberlake fan.
I agree with you. That is correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that is all for this edition of The Culture Show. Tune in Monday. There goes my one-on-one with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that's never happening.
Tune in Monday for Amari Paris Jeffries and his take on the Trump administration releasing the FBI files on Martin Luther King Jr., plus musician and cultural historian Elijah Wald. The Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, is based on his book. He'll talk about that and his upcoming show at Passim. Callie, I know you have a big show coming up this weekend.
I do. We're doing an hour with 3 authors whose books are the most banned in the country.
Oh.
It's part of our series about the anti-book banning movement. And so we're talking with Maya Kobabe of Genderqueer, we're Jodi Picoult of 19 Minutes, and Sandra Cisneros, The House on Mango Street. It's fantastic.
Nice.
And Eckerwood's coming up in the Curiosity
Real
Bins.
quick, I would just say, if you haven't seen it already, go to our YouTube channel and check out our great Molasses Flood half-hour length episode. We could use the views.
Thanks today to the BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, Pat Lally, and Olivia Corshio. Also thanks to the Lennox Hotel, the Newsfeed Cafe. Thank you to everyone who came down to the library today. We love seeing you. I'm Jared Bowen. Thank you for being a friend. Now have an art-filled weekend.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's art and culture programming.
Where's Mary? Where is she? Where is she? She's just about to close up the library!
Spend your afternoon with her.